Good morning, everybody. We've had a slightly delayed start with a small technical problem, and this is our 2 and a bit live stream that we've done here from the British Horological Institute. Last time we did a deep dive into minute repeating watches, and we did a small repair. And today we have a very interesting clock, and it is we've got a clock by a clockmaker called Isaac Jackson, but has a very unusual and important escapement, which is the Mudge gravity escapement. And so we'll have a look at gravity escapements, try and understand this clock, and we'll service it, and we'll try and do all of that live on screen. I have some help by my friends here at the British Horological Institute. We also have to thank Jim Arnfield for setting all of the equipment up yesterday and today, and also he spent a long time previously getting all the gear together, making some rigs and so on. So it's a massive group effort, so thanks to everybody involved. If you want to chat or send messages to the chat, just do so. I will have to separately kind of deal with that myself, because last time we had a friend helping us do that, Richard, but he's not around today. And so, Robin Batchelor, brilliant. Good morning, Robin, thanks for joining us. Actually, this stream we've sent out quite a lot of messages and invitations to people, and we did more on social media. And so we'll see how many people join us over the course of the stream. I've had also promises of people rejoining from Australia. So yeah, by all means, just pop into the chat and say hi. So we've got a couple of different camera angles. Got this microphone cable in shot. I think it might be slightly out of focus. That is it. Oh no, it seems all right. It seems all right. It maybe it's just this monitor I'm looking at isn't brilliant. So we've got that shot, which kind of shows the whole thing. We're at one of the benches here in the clock workshop at the BHI. This looks a bit wet or whatever, but it's not. That's just the illustrious mark of lots of good work that has been done on this bench. Patina, I think we call it. And then we've got a close-up. So there's a close-up shot, and we'll be able to cut to detailed shots during the stream. So just maybe a couple of chats about gravity escapements. Actually, there's a very loud audio going off. I think it might be a clock that we've just fixed. I'm just going to go, I'll leave you looking at the clock for a second, actually, maybe. Chaps, could I just check, is that clocking sound? Is it just a clock?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want me to stop?
I mean, is it important that we do all test? Okay, yeah, because it's even louder than that clock we stopped earlier.
Yeah, that's fine.
But, so we went to the trouble of...
some more from our room?
No.
Enough there.
We went to the trouble of stopping a very loud clock earlier, and in the meantime we've set up an even louder clock and closer to me, so that's that. Oh, I see, we've got a few joining us. Somebody from Perth in Western Australia, Diamond Bilg. Hello Diamond, hello Hannah Thomas. So thanks for joining us. So a couple of chats maybe about gravity escapements. So one of the ideals of the gravity escapement is that it, in theory, has no influence from the wheel train. So with the normal clock escapement, like a recoil escapement or a deadbeat escapement, George Graham's escapement, there is a very strong interaction between the locking pallets of the escapement and the teeth of the escape wheel. And you can imagine the condition of the wheel train. Sometimes if the oil is thicker when the clock has long since had a service, or if the oil happened to be thinner early on in a service, that would affect the torque. Also, what's going on, when somebody's setting the hands, there's a change, atmospheric conditions, and these all have an interaction. And so the change condition of the wheel train affects how much impulse gets through to the pendulum. And anyone who is interested in clockmaking will know that what you want is for the pendulum to behave exactly consistently from tick to tick, and receive the same amount of impulse as far as practically possible. We've got somebody who says aloha from Honolulu. Well, I'll take you at your word, Tarka's head. Aloha from Honolulu. So we're just talking about the consistency of what's happening in the wheel train. In a turret clock, the condition of the train is even more critical because the variation in power going through the train is pretty extreme in a turret clock. Because a turret clock is very often overdriven because a turret clock has to have enough energy to keep going even in the worst possible conditions. So if we think about, say, in the middle of winter when the weather is freezing and there might be a strong wind blowing against the hands so as to push them back, that robs all the train of energy. And even in spite of those conditions, what you want in a turret clock is for the pendulum still to be able to be released, or the escapement still to be released. So it means that there has to be sufficient reserve energy in the drive weight to be able to overcome the worst possible conditions. Then imagine, fast forward 6 months to the summertime, it could be very hot, the oil has now thinned out, and say you've got a wind blowing the opposite direction, so to advance the hands, and so all of a sudden you've got extreme amount of power on one side and extreme lack of power on the other side. And this is when clockmakers began to think of ways that they could give a constant impulse to the pendulum. And well, that's been done all along. But one of the great advances in this was made with Mudge and the gravity escapement. Now, of course, the gravity escapement had an interesting history. There was Bloxham and there were others. And I'm told that Captain Cater, who's well known for his experiments concerning gravity using pendulums, sort of homed in on this problem of unlocking friction at the escapement. So the unlocking friction, of course, is the amount of pressure of the train resting against whatever locking element there is in the escapement. So the pendulum has to kind of drive that element away from the escapement, and that then abstracts energy from the pendulum, and this is what causes the variation. So if we can cause the unlocking friction to be constant or very low, then that would be a massive improvement, and that is exactly what the gravity escapement does. And so the gravity escapement has, say, a little arm that rests against a pendulum rod, and so you've got almost just a little falling arm that, as it falls down, just imparts a tiny amount of energy to the pendulum, and the amount of energy depends on how far the little arm falls. So if you let the arm swing through a big angle, it would impart more energy than if you just release it from a low angle. And so the idea with the gravity escapement, and maybe it would be good to try and illustrate on this clock. Now I'm just going to change scene for a second. I've got some gloves here. Actually, I wanted to put the blue gloves on, but I've got these white gloves. They may adjust they may affect the shot. So I'm just going to change cameras. So currently we've got 25 viewers, which is about, well, more than last time. So we have the clock, and it's quite safe actually to rest in this condition, because we've tested, and there's no parts that will impinge if we tilt it down like that. So here we come to an early example of gravity escapement. As I say, because this is an earlier type, it is lacking some features that were later developed. Okay, so here we have the gravity arms. Now there's no power on the train, so it's quite easy to illustrate the point. So you see, if I lift this up, and now this arm is pivoted at this point, and that arm is pivoted just next to it, and then the suspension spring and the whole suspension kind of goes along there. So just to illustrate how it is set up. And this is a beautifully made example because the pendulum comes in two pieces, so it's easy to assemble and disassemble, although for very high precision we think that is better to have a one piece. Okay. So if you imagine the pendulum rod going off into the distance, 39 inches a second's pendulum. So when the pendulum swings one way or the other way, it does lift one of the pallets. Oh, we've still got the maintaining power attached. So this is just the configuration we see there. But I will remove the rod for now. So I just wanted to share how it all goes together so you can visualize that. Then if we look at the action, when I lift one pallet, it releases the train because the train is locked against one of these pallets. But what happens on the opposite pallet, I always think it's most useful in gravity escaping clocks to look at what's happening on the opposite pallet to the one that's about to move, because the one that's about to move is going to unlock the train. But once the train is unlocked, we take all that energy that comes from the train, be it a spring or a weight, and the train itself lifts up the other arm and locks it somehow. Different gravity escapements have a different types of locking, and it parks it kind of in the park position. So the gravity arm is neutral, and then the train lifts it up, and then it is latched there somehow. Later, the pendulum comes along through free space, so the pendulum is not doing anything. It eventually meets the gravity arm, unlocks it through one mechanism or another, and then they fall back together. And it is this free space where the pendulum was first traveling with no impingement, then it comes back with a little mass sort of piggybacking it. That is what gives the pendulum impulse, which is the amount of energy required to keep it going, so that it wouldn't stop by normal losses. So if we look back at the escapement, we lift one side, and you look at what happens on the opposite pallet. So now I shall lift this side, but watch what happens. This pallet, when I release this one, the train will just push this up by just a millimeter or so. So I'm going to lift the one where my finger is and watch the opposite one. Did you see it went up slightly? That amount of difference is what delivers the impulse to the pendulum. We'll try and get that on the close camera. So we'll just cut to another camera. I think it's cam 1. I'm just going to preview the shot before bringing it in. Oh yes. We might need to refocus that slightly because it's oh no, it may not. Jim, do you think it will work? Because we're much closer to the thing than we had before. But it should be all right. We should be able to illustrate that quite well. I'll just cut to camera 1. Go back to program. Yeah, lovely. Does that look all right to everybody? All in focus. Right. So I'm just being careful to hold the clock up with one hand. Make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Yes, it's safe. Okay, so we're still under maintaining power now, so the clock has got a little bit of its own power, even though it is we need to open the aperture because it's very dark. Oh no, I've gone the wrong way. I've gone focus rather than aperture. How's that? Maybe out of focus a little bit. Slightly out of focus. Thank you, Jim. So that's Jim helping me with the camera. Okay, so now, if you look at, let's reverse to me. So this right-hand side, so the escape wheel is moving anti-clockwise in this case, and it is locked. So you can see the tip of the escape wheel is locked in that little corner there. So the tip of the escape wheel is sort of in that little notch, and it's just waiting to be released. Look at the opposite pallet. The escape wheel is going to run up this surface there, and as it does so, because the surface is slanted, it's going to push this pallet away, and then that tooth is going to get latched and locked in the little corner. So that's Mudge's escapement. So when I unlock this side, watch what happens on this side. Right, ready? Okay, and you saw it lifted the pallet out of the way. So the tiny amount that lifted will be later redelivered to the pendulum in the form of impulse. And then of course the pendulum comes back, and these arms here are what touch the pendulum. So alternately locking and unlocking. Oh, that is already unlocked, so it's this side. It's actually quite interesting to see in slow motion some of these escapements. And maybe once the stream is ended, we'll put a slow motion video of it running when we publish the video. Because we'll do an edited version of the video without all the technical faffing. Now, one of the problems that early gravity escapements had was that the trains had a tendency to run through, so the escapement kind of gets runs away with itself. Because you can also imagine if this, I'm just going to stop this running away by putting my hand inside the clock, but if for whatever reason there was a big bounce and this sort of bounced up in the air while the other pallet was unlocked, then the whole train could sort of start running freely and go a bit mad, and the whole thing could go a bit out of kilter. And then the clock would appear to have gained, or you could even damage the escapement in that. So that's a problem with gravity escapements, especially in turret clocks, with early gravity escapements at any rate, where you have a lot of power, just latent power waiting to be released. And so that is where some of the later gravity escapements, particularly from Grimthorpe's time, started to use a fly, or a fly fan. I don't think Grimthorpe was the first to use a fly fan, but later gravity escapements had a bit of a bad reputation in the early times because of this tendency to run through. And so it was with a fly, which is just a big vein on the escape arbor, and what that does is it just kind of paces the escape wheel. No matter how much energy is there, it absorbs a little bit of extra energy. It's actually an inertial brake rather than an air brake, if you like. And what that does is when the two travel together, when the escapement starts moving, and especially in later gravity escapements, you see a very big gap between the teeth or the blades, so it can move quite quickly. So that's when they also tend to run away. But you've got this inertial mass just kind of damping it down, and then it also comes to a sudden stop. So it's gone from quite large acceleration to a sudden stop, and so without that you could get a bounce or a bang. But in the properly set up fly, and not every fly is well set up like this, the fly should run on a little bit. So it takes that kinetic energy that's been put into it, and it just keeps running through. So sometimes quite surprising in a big turret clock, there's actually a ratchet and pull, and it's very noisy when there's actually no, that's more in a strike train, sorry, the same idea. The strike train has so much energy, but then when it stops, the fly fan runs on. But I always pointed to Jim Arnfield's inertially detached gravity escapement clock as having a very, very elegant fly, because it just sort of puffs along after every stop. When the escapement moves through and the fly doesn't stop dead, it just kind of puffs along ever so slightly, just showing the slight energy that's being dissipated at every beat. And so we can also put some footage of that. And we do have a piece of media Unfortunately, the software doesn't allow us to easily play a video, but I do have a still. I wonder if that's live. Oh no, I need to cut to it. I don't know if that's worked. Maybe I should leave well alone. I was trying to cut to the still that I put on there. Maybe if I do it like this. No, I don't think that's gonna cooperate. So we'll just leave that. Okay. Did anyone see that still coming up? The thing. So we've had a crash behind us. We've got somebody saying hello from Hong Kong. We've got somebody from Thailand, hello, Sawadi. And we've got Matt Burley from Hong Kong. Fantastic place. So that's the quick chat about the inertially detached gravity escapement. So if anyone wants to know a bit about more about gravity escapements, or let us know your thoughts, just say so in the chat. Yes, HRM, oof. Not quite sure what happened behind me, but I'm sure it'll all be in hand. Is everyone all right? Yeah. Okay. Never mind about your limbs. Can you not damage our clocks, please? Martin Foster, good morning to you. And we have dancers with aardvarks. Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. If anyone wasn't awake now, there will certainly be. I'm just checking my notes briefly. So, because of this situation with there being no fly on this clock or on early gravity escapement, it means everything affects it very much. Anything that affects the condition of the train really has a big effect. So even the condition of the oil will massively affect the state, and so we're going to oil it with one type of oil and see it may be too thick, too thin, and previously the mass had to be very carefully calculated at exactly 6 pounds. Even an ounce more or less would cause the clock to misbehave, and that's because the amount of energy going through this part is quite critical. As I said, it would run through if the mass or the amount of energy going through there isn't quite right. So I think enough chatting. Just send messages if you want. Oh, actually on this screen there's plenty of things. Oh, sounded expensive. I think it'll probably be okay. Demonstration of gravity in foreground and background. You see, you've all got the advantage of knowing what happened behind me, and I don't actually want to know, because I think I do know. I think I have a feeling, because I know what is installed in space. Right. You see, it's all the crew. They're constantly trying to get attention and get in on the film. Right, so let's start with the dismantling. That's right, Martin, that's what we want. Action. Hello from sunny Scotland, yes. Richard Thompson does have a sense of humour. Gravity. Thanks, Martin. Right. So, we'll start with a bell. Oh yes, so a couple of interesting technical details about this particular clock. So the clock was made by a clockmaker called Isaac Jackson from the north of England, from Wylam, a town called Wylam. And I tried to find out what it is about Isaac Jackson. Was there a connection between Isaac Jackson and Mudge? Because the Mudge escapement is very, very rare. But it seems that somehow Jackson just sort of latched on to Mudge's Escapement and decided that was the one for him. And he's made this very beautiful regulator. It has a passing strike, which means that every hour it just strikes one note on the bell, like that. Martin would, I think, agree that the bell is a very beautiful bell, very pure tone, and all the harmonics and things, but that probably doesn't broadcast well over YouTube. When was this escapement first invented? Well, HRM, that's one of the things I ran out of time to do. I meant to have a little fact sheet of such things in front of me, but I would say, if I'll add it to the edited video, but if you want absolutely the best source of information for that kind of thing, it would be Britain's Watch and Clockmakers Handbook, Dictionary and Guide, and I would go for an old copy, which you can get quite cheaply, like the reprint that was made in the 70s, but also the 1981 copy edited by Richard Good, which has got lots of up-to-date information then, and really beautifully typeset. That's the book that will tell us all those kind of dates. But I'm afraid I don't have that information offhand. Hello BitQuests, greetings from Germany, and Guten Morgen. Well, for you it'll be Guten Mittag, I think. You're an hour ahead of us. So I was talking about the passing strike mechanism, and this is a really interesting passing strike. So normally there's just a pin in one of the motion work wheels for passing strike, and all it does is it lifts the tail of the hammer, and that falls, at approximately the hour. However, this has got a 2-layer, almost like a clock warning, and so what we have is a little cam, like a snail, on the cannon wheel, if you like, or the wheel that goes around once an hour, and then within this penultimate wheel inside the clock has a pin on it, and so a few moments before the hour the snail hands off. So actually the tail on the front of the clock, just behind the dial, that tail falls off the snail, but there's a secondary tail. Which way am I turning it? Yes. Now I wonder if we can get inside there, just so you can see. It's this side, so it's this side, yes. Okay, so there you can just about see it in the shadows. So you see in there's a long and slender arm, and that is also connected. So you see these two pieces move in tandem. Once the front tail has been handed off by the snail, the rear tail rests on a pin that extends out of the face of that wheel. So I'm working reverse. So this wheel has a little pin extending off its face, and that just catches the tail. And Jim Arnfield told me that it can be released to the exact second that the seconds hand passes the 12 every time. And that was the idea, so it's a very precise strike. Now, of course, don't forget regulators were often used for astronomical measurements, or if you wanted to time other things, and so it'd be very useful to know, like a signal, okay, it's exactly the moment now, and it would save you from having to look up from your work if you could just hear it striking in the background, and that's why it's so accurate. We have Theo Maas from Netherlands. I'll just say in Afrikaans, goeiemorgen. Theo says, I wish the Netherlands did only a fraction of the UK's horological preservation. We don't even have one real horological museum here. Well, I'm not sure that's, well, I haven't been to Netherlands much lately, but I know that the Netherlands, the Dutch clockmaking societies and that are or were very, very good. And there's also the Museum of Mechanical Music in, is it Utrecht? And there meant to have been a couple of good clock museums, but it is true that, I often say that the style of conservation work and restoration work that is done in Britain is the best to be found anywhere, particularly with antique watches and clocks. The Swiss are exceptional. They do everything very, very to an exceptionally high standard, but to my mind, perhaps too new almost. Everything is almost too perfect. And I mean, it's in the British psyche. You know, when you walk down the streets and villages, the British preserve the countryside, they preserve the streetscape, they just have a sympathy for old things. And I guess it's because they've had a lot of old things around them for a very long time, and it's never really been kind of destroyed en masse. So it's like in the fabric of society to look after things nicely. And I think that the type of horological education that is done at the British Horological Institute is unmatched, particularly when it comes to the kind of sympathetic conservation work that beautiful old clocks and watches want. You don't want things to be too shiny and new. You want them just to be done in a really beautiful, balanced and elegant way. And thank you, Theo, or HRM. You're right, but I think you're naysaying the Dutch a little bit, because the Dutch, I think next to Britain, you've got Netherlands and Germany in terms of how, you know, the degree of sort of homebrew skill there is. So we're not talking about manufacture. When it comes to manufacture, Switzerland, China, Japan, Hong Kong, you know, they've got manufacturing down, you know, that we can't really compete with. But when it comes to sympathetic work, certainly the UK and the Northern European countries do very well. Matt asks about the remote learning course. Do I need to go back to Blighty? Actually, yes, at the moment we're only running exams in the UK. Very occasionally we would run exams at a remote centre, but it takes a lot of administration and making sure the invigilators are qualified and all of that. So Matt, if you just write where you are, that would be useful. Windsor UK says we need more light. Yes, I realize I'm wearing a dark shirt, even though I was told not to. And that doesn't help, because now we can't really balance the exposure, because my face is kind of really bright and everything else is dark, and so the camera, poor old camera, can't really deal with that. And so we did, I mean, I could put one of these lights on, but that's all right for chatting. No, I don't think that works at all. Yeah, sorry, Windsor UK, you're probably right, but it's partly because I'm wearing a dark shirt and it's messing up the exposure level. So, but I think if we, how is it when I have the clock on screen? Is the amount of light acceptable there? Martin Foster also says more light. Oh, you're in Hong Kong, yeah. No, we don't. I think we've done it in Australia once or twice, and maybe USA, South Africa. I don't think we've ever held remote exams in Hong Kong. But come to England, spend a holiday in England and do your exams next summer. Jim is now increasing the light levels from the studio lights. I think we've got an extra strong force of gravity in the workshop here today. So Matt, yeah, I'm afraid for the time being, you'll have to come back to UK, do your distance learning course and then come back to UK. But get in touch, because between Martin Foster and me, we often end up in Hong Kong. I didn't go this year, unfortunately, but maybe we'll catch up in Hong Kong when we're there next year for the Clock and Watch Fair. Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right. Windsor, UK. You are right. Inside the plate, it was a bit gloomy. But we'll show you. I'll show you closer view, because don't forget we're going to take this clock apart. So Dancers with Aardvarks asks, what's a good way to get involved with horology? Well, really, I would say sign up to the British Horological Institute as an associate for a start. You get the Horological Journal, and you are part of a fantastic community then. And you know what, there's so many resources now online and everywhere where you can learn things. I find it very difficult to watch YouTube videos about clock and watchmaking, because they just make my blood boil every time I see them. There are some good ones, but there's a lot of just kind of rather enthusiastic people just, fixing things. And I'm glad they are, but I also worry that when people are trying to learn something new, they're picking up the kind of wrong habits. So I'd say really do get involved with the Institute, and you'll get the top grade of communication about how to do things. The Horological Journal is fantastic, been published every month since 1858 without any break, even during both world wars, paper shortages and so on. So the Horological Journal is a great resource. It's a very broad church, so the Institute and the journal has to accommodate people interested in antique clocks, modern clocks, antique watches, modern watches, maths, science, astronomy. But over the course of 18 months, you'll get a lot of everything. If you pick up a particular one journal, you might not find that it's got what you're interested in. But there's a cycle, you'll get something of everything with a Horological Journal, absolutely. Peter Meacham, good morning, everyone. So, shall we begin with the great dismantling? I'll try and keep it all on the bench. Right, so the first thing to do is to undo this nut that holds the bell on the bell standard. I'll try and use technically the correct terminology as much as I can. You can see there on my forearm, it was just it's washed out now. Oh yes, on the other screen you can see it. Injury by Jackson. So I tried to slice my arm yesterday on the top of the pendulum rod. So yeah, I've been injured by horology. So there's the bell, beautiful white colour of the bell metal casting. No doubt a high tin bronze. We put that safely out of the way. Okay, my arm has touched the camera, prompting me to change view. Right. So I think the first thing to do is we'll remove the escapement, and that will allow us to have the back plate completely free. So I'll bring back my little wooden block. Every workshop needs a whole variety of little wooden blocks. Okay, we'll see which screwdriver is best. I've got these, I've just put some brass blades that I made in a big pin vise. Oh, Jim's just given me a lovely old turn screw. So this is one of Jim Arnfield's antique turn screws here. Now, that's a good fit. And actually, the shape of the screwdriver is lovely because that's just a nice taper. And the way these old screws were made was just with a screw head file probably, and they have a kind of V, so they're more of a V than a groove. And so it's important to have the shape of the two matching. Am I doing the right thing? Let me just think about this. Oh no, I think I'll take the pallets off in one piece maybe. What do you think? Take the entire block off and leave the pallets in place. Yeah. So unfortunately I'm blocking the camera, so let's do it like this. I'm still blocking it a bit. I'm just going to reposition myself so I don't block everything with my blue hand. Always try and guide the tip of the blade with another finger or so. I'm working in a slightly awkward position here, and if this doesn't work, I may change. That's it. So just very gentle, constant torque, and it may not have looked it, but it was in a really controlled state then. And we'll have a look at the beautiful shape of this square. So I'll just go to the close frame. Right, this may be asking too much of our little close-up camera. Thank you, Open Clock Club Archive. Martin Foster asks, which watch am I wearing? Martin Foster also says, never ask a question unless you already know the answer. So I'm wearing a watch made by a company called Charles Frodsham, made in England. Oh yeah, Open Clock Club's answered it. Thanks for that. Yeah, so it's a bit bright, but I think yeah, you can see the picture there. Yeah, I've got a lot of glare from all the lights, so maybe I'm being a bit enthusiastic there. But I wanted just to share the beautiful shape of that screw. I'll bring it into shot afterwards again, and just so you can see, because at the moment the camera exposure is being messed around with by circumstances. So I'll leave that in position. Actually, can I have a third hand here, just to hold this block? I'm a bit worried that it might fly out. Thank you. Right, and I'll just make sure that because this clock has maintaining power, so there was still some power there, so I'll just make sure it doesn't run away. I think it had run down earlier, but I'll just double check. There's still a bit of energy left in the train. There we go, okay. Personally, I hate the sound of metal rubbing against metal, especially on an antique thing, so I always try and not let that happen. Like I say, we've got the two screws. I'm going to try and lift this away, but the escape wheel might drop a bit because this cock here has a number of functions. There we are. So that is the Mudge gravity escapement, as built by Isaac Jackson. And now the escape wheel can come straight out through the front. Okay, so now we have the back plate free. So now I can put the clock on its back. Now, I mean, this is a wooden surface, so I was using a wooden block, it doesn't much matter. It'll be resting on these screw heads. So it's off the bench slightly. There we are. I'm just going to reorganize myself a little bit. I'm just going to take the microphone off for 2 seconds. Yes, conical head. Well, it's something like a cheese head, I think. I'm going to put these parts in a small tub just to stop them rolling around the bench, and also just gives a kind of demarcation from the rest of the world. I was going to see if I can share this screw. Oh yes, there we are. Let's just try and adjust the focus on that one. Okay, let me, if I sit. Okay, I've lost my mic, so I'll just bring this in. Sorry if everyone's getting a bit seasick now. So the colour should be a bit more balanced because of the colour of these gloves. So it's almost got a kind of like a bishop's hat. So it's neither conical nor, it's kind of rounded. So I'm holding this in free space, and it's very hard for me to work out which way to. Right, I need to come towards my thumb a bit, yes. And now I need to come towards this finger a bit. There we are. Oh, lovely. Okay. But it's out of focus now, so actually, well, no. Could I ask you just to refocus the camera, because I can't. Okay. Well. Oh no. Okay. Let me do that. I think if I rest one hand against the other, so I need to begin which way now? you. I've got Jim Arnfield pointing directions at me. But unfortunately, the focus doesn't really. Yeah, just really lovely, that profile. Copy that, screenshot it, and make all your clocks with that shape of screw head. And that's the other one, so quite a lot bigger. And that's a different one again, so that's more of a domed head, like a classical dome, whereas that's got a little cylindrical part at the lower area and then the dome at the top. That's a screw head. So I've just got these in a little tub there. I'll try and keep them separate. Okay, those are the most delicate parts. So just a view here as well. Let's just have a look at this escape wheel. So being an early gravity escapement, the teeth look a lot like a classical clock escape wheel, and of course later gravity escapements had these very spindly arms, more like veins or blades than teeth. And we can see there's a bit of black gunge. So you can see the state of the oil at the moment. This wasn't the cleanest piece of pigwood to begin with, but you can see how black, even on the tips of the teeth. Well, you can see on my gloves now, you can see the darkened oil. I mean, it's not terrible, but certainly wants a service. And also just looking at the seconds arbor, you can see the amount of black grime on there. So we'll clean all of that. And I've got the team ready to help with all the cleaning. Because actually, we had invited and hoped Stella Hayward would do this stream because she's an exceptionally experienced clockmaker and she's used to fixing all sorts of clocks. I mean, she's Stella, were you born like at a clockmaker's bench?
Something like that.
Let me put the audio back. Sorry, I hope everyone can still hear me. I lost my microphone. Okay, so here we are with the clock plate. I'll turn it up slightly so you can point it toward the camera. So the next thing I think we'll do is start removing this motion work. So many regulators don't have motion work, but many regulators do. So this one does. So these heads are much more of the kind of classical form. How old do I think the oil is? When last was the clock serviced?
20 years ago.
20 years ago. So you see an interesting feature on this minute wheel, and that is the counterpoise there. And so I think we need to be cognizant of how to reassemble this because it's marked. I'll see if I can get that on shot. There are little dots within. Let's see if we can get the light and everything in shot there. Maybe like this. I need to come towards that thing, and then I'm going to use my phone's torch. I think it's the easiest way just to get on with okay, so there you can see the two little dots that the maker has made on the mating wheels so that they line up correctly. So there you can see he's made two little like drill with a drill or something just down there to say that those teeth need to marry up. So there's that will help this counterpoise align at the right moment. Switch the torch off. So we need to just be aware of the positions of those dots. I'm going to just get some magnification going. I'm going to see if there's any dots elsewhere. So I don't think the hour wheel particularly needs aligning. Although yes, there is a pin. Sorry, I was looking at this yesterday and I've forgotten about that. There's a kind of key. And I'll turn this around so you can see it from the side. Okay. I need to move it this way. And now I need to move it that way. Yes. Okay, and actually the little key is just there, but it's in shadow. But the idea with that is, actually if I turn it around more, yes, there you can start seeing it. Now I need to move it back to me, thank you. Oh yes. And I need to move it like that. So there you can see on the hour wheel, the little pin that's been driven in there, and it acts as a key so that the hour hand always goes on in the same position. So I've got the hour hand in my hand now, and you can see a related slot in the boss of the hour hand. I'll keep that camera going. And there's a sort of a U-shaped washer that keeps it all together. I mean, I'll show that upon reassembly, but you see that, so now the hour hand can only go in one position. So a mark of exceptional thought and care when making this clock. So I'll leave that there with you. Right, so I need to be conscious of where the key points when we reassemble the clock. I need to just think about this. There don't seem to be any marks. Actually, there is a little dot there, Jim. There's a little drilling, but it doesn't look there's a little drilling there, but that doesn't look original to me. It's much bigger than the other ones. So when in doubt, stop and think, but also when in doubt, take a photo. And that is a quick way. Right, so just to get the relative alignment, I've got these magnifiers on too. Yeah. Just going off air for a second with the audio. So we were just discussing it may well have been assembled wrongly, slightly incorrectly 20 years ago. Just give me a second. Okay, so we were just discussing that it may be that the clock, that is a correct mark, but maybe the clock was assembled incorrectly the last time it was serviced. Well, we'll see. I mean, the proof will be when we come to reassemble it, and then we'll know for sure. I mean, it doesn't exactly matter which position the hour hand is, as long as the minute hand kind of lines up with it. It doesn't matter which hour it's pointing to, because the clock doesn't strike. So as long as the hour hand is pointing to an hour when the minute hand is on 12, that's the important part. And then of course we've got this delicate setup of the double snails. So we'll go back to the main view. Right, so off comes the hour wheel. Now here we see more, so the minute wheel can come away. And so somebody was saying there's very little wear, and you're right. I'm just going to get another container. Can I give you that? I'm just putting that hand safely away. You're okay, yep. Right, so we put those parts safely away. Okay, so the next one. So this is going to be interesting because we'll see the Snail, and it's in steel. So let's get the turn screw. Oh, look, and these two screws are different. So I'm going to put them back in the same holes. In fact, I'll take another photo because if one inadvertently gets misplaced, I'd like to know. And very often in antique clocks, this is the best practice anyway, because we don't want to, everything is handmade, and it's not guaranteed to be interchangeable, and we may inadvertently force something. But yeah, you can definitely see that head has a flatter top than that head there, which is a bit more domed. So that's a good record. So somebody asked in the chat earlier about the video, and it was like, will we publish these videos? And yes, indeed. We will publish the video later. That clock may dominate the audio now, I'm not sure, so I'll just keep quiet for a second. That's the quartal bell striking noon. I thought I'd just let the quartal bell strike complete because it's a pretty dominant sound, but it's also quite nice to hear it. Lovely big, rich, massive bell. Right, so I'll take this bridge away. Oh, what's that there? Is there a little washer or something there? What's that? There's a kind of ring there. Okay, so we'll have a look at that, but that's obviously there for a reason. It's a brass ring of some kind. Some might argue that's part of the clock's history. So, So we were having an offline conference that it was probably to raise the hour wheel away from the head of this screw. And who's to say that screw was original? I mean, it looks early. Certainly looks early. At any rate, so we'll lift this. Look at that beautiful snail there. Yes, Jim's reminded me about something about this clock, that we believe that part of the clock case, the hood, was replaced. The original clock hood does exist, but it was put into a different hood that was a bit more elegant while on display many years ago. So what we believe to be the original hood is extant. But maybe it was to do with that and a different dial, and so this question of the little washer could have been something to do with making clearance from the front of the dial. Although, so that's a tricky one, because there was no provision to extend the hour, the minute hand. So I'm not sure. The jury's out on that. We'll see once the clock ever gets recased, but we're not doing the recasing on this video, so I'll keep an eye. We've actually been going for an hour and we haven't really achieved, well, we've had a fantastic experience, so we'll keep going. So, just this very beautiful snail. I'll see if I can get that back on the other close camera. So we want to go that way. Yes, wow, look at that. So you can see there the lifting tail of the hammer riding against that blue steel snail. Now unfortunately I can't show you both sides of the plate at the same time, and also because we've now allowed the train to kind of run. Oh no, those two are still geared to each other. So that's the handover, and actually at the same time that's happening, you can see over the course of about an hour the bell is lifted. So it is abstracting energy from the train, but don't forget that doesn't really matter with a gravity escapement, because the impulse is given by the fall of gravity. So what happens in the train doesn't really matter in a gravity escapement for the reasons that we already said, because the impulse is delivered by the falling of that arm, no matter what the state of the train is. So it doesn't matter that we're abstracting energy, say from a regulator, because the pendulum isn't seeing that. Okay, so I think in order to proceed to the next step, this should come off, yes, so that just lifts straight off. Our little washer, which is squared onto the arbor. I might just grab an eyeglass to have a close look at that. I had an eyeglass somewhere. Just it's hiding under an ice cream bucket. I'm just going to deal with. Oh yes, I was just checking that the software is behaving. Right. Oh dear. There we go. I forgot how that works now. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a look there. There's some interesting graffiti on there. I can't quite make it out. Okay, so we'll lift that. Well, I may need to wait. Let me remove this piece first, because that's getting slightly in the way. Right. I'll try not to obscure your view. Yeah, the clock is in remarkably good condition, as Dancers with Aardvarks has pointed out, very little wear. But if a clock is well maintained in a cleanish environment, there shouldn't be much wear. There is some wear actually on the pinions, so if you look at the pinion leaves, they are worn down, as you often see on older clocks. Are you guys rearing to get cleaning? No, I'm not sure. Can I remove this? Oh yes, because it's got this. There's a slot in the side of the plate, so hopefully I can thread that through without causing too much stress. Oh yeah, beautiful. Sort of. There we are. So there's the hammer and its two tails, and so that's a kind of flag And so when this is raised up, by the time it's raised up, the pin is resting above this space. No, sorry, it's below it. So when the hammer wants to fall, the pin's in the way, and eventually the pin moves out of the way, and the hammer can fall, giving one stroke. So if I just ask everyone's opinion, one of the team had suggested that we do the stream in two parts. So do a stream and then kind of clean the clock and then come back in an hour or whatever and start the stream up a second time. What are people's thoughts on that? Should we just have like one contiguous stream, do it all in one sitting? Because my feeling was that once you've got your audience, you don't get them to go off and do something else because they might find something more interesting. What do you think? Split stream or just carry on? Yeah, HRM has pointed out it's a shame recasing movements. It's a shame recasing movements isn't as common anymore. So are you talking HRM about, say, an orphan clock movement that these days people would be reluctant to put it in an old case, or are you trying to say something else? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Artfark says it's alright splitting the stream. I've got my blue hand in shot now. Somebody's turning on a Chauvelin lathe. That's Jan turning something on the Chauvelin lathe in the background. Well said, Robin Batchelor. Robin says there's nothing wrong with a split stream. There's nothing more interesting that will distract him. Good to know. BitQuest thinks we should just point out about some details of cleaning. So actually, yeah, that's more or less what we decided. We decided we'd get the entire team involved in the clean. So I could just sort of clean one or two parts while my colleagues and friends helped clean all the other parts. And that way we'll multiply the speed. So we don't have to wait for the whole thing to be done. There doesn't need to be continuous narration. Well, that's a very diplomatic way of saying you're blathering. Okay, just checking if there's anything going to catch me out when I split the plate. Yeah, just lift it straight up, I think. We will just mention about the cleaning fluids later. So I really have immense respect for the old clockmakers that were able to clean clocks, put them back together without touching the plates, and they didn't have gloves. I think a lot of them used paper and just techniques of holding that didn't require them to touch the plates. It's a snug fit. And also a bit worried about everything falling over the minute I split the plate. Okay, maybe just keep an eye there, yeah. Okay, so got Jim helping. I'll give it to you. I'll hand over to you. Okay. Okay, yeah, so everything's stable. All right. Okay, I'll take it back because I don't like where it's sitting there. I mean, the mass of that plate. Beautiful, look at that. That must be a 1/4 inch. And I expect these plates are cast. Just looking at the condition of things in between the plates, we can have a quick look. amazing condition, beautiful condition. You know, a bit of grime here and there, but that's fine. I mean, it's actually quite lovely, really lovely. The bell standard I'll just leave on for the time being. I'll just hand it to a colleague who might want to admire it. Oh, you've got a glove on, yeah. Sorry, just handing it over the... Okay. So a very simple wheel train. We've got this I don't know what you'd call this part. A kind of, it's a sort of pulley, I guess. Stella, is there a name for this? Is it like just a runner or a wheel, a jockey wheel? Yeah. I'm not sure the clockmakers would have called it a jockey wheel.
No, probably not.
But that's to allow the weight to descend kind of along the spiral, if you like, so that it moves. And they tend to arrange them that as the clock unwinds, the weight moves away from the pendulum, so it gets further and further away from the pendulum as it runs. Okay, so I just want to have a closer look and see if there's any other markings, because that wheel with the pin needs to be oriented. The quality of these wheels, the crossings, you can just see they're filed by hand, but just they've got that beautiful touch of just being just so. Actually, I think these wheel teeth, no, surely these, oh no, I think the wheel teeth might have been touched up by hand, because they've got the little notches in the corners where the workman has gone round and just topped every wheel tooth. Yeah, it's an interesting question, this. The orientation of the parts. I don't see any alignment. Now, it's tricky because the arbor here is squared. So we saw that the washer... Oh no, the arbor is squared to hold the washer, so that doesn't matter. Okay. And in any case, the pinion doesn't have any markings on it, which it might have done. Sometimes if the pinion wants to have a mark... Sorry. I'll start again. Sometimes if it's important which way around the pinion goes, there would be a little corner filed off one of the leaves. Just going off air for a second. Okay. Yep. So we're just having a chat in the background. I mean, I don't mind having these chats with the audio on. Just that you could set the clock up and then just sort of set the hands to follow. Anyway, so I think we can safely remove that. So I'll try and show one of these wheels on screen in a minute. Let me just safely remove these parts. Yeah, so somebody said, Open Clock Club said a roller. Yeah, it's probably a roller is a good recollection of the name of that thing. So there's the Harrison maintaining power detent. So that stops. So you see this clock's got Harrison maintaining power. So you wind it this way, but it's got a little subsidiary spring inside there, and the detent here stops the Harrison work from running backwards. Oh, that oil is still very fresh there, so that looks a good quality oil. Somebody asked which oil would I use. Would we use modern oils? Yes, absolutely. I mean, there are different schools about oil. I mean, there is an argument to say that that oils that have a more natural oil content, like the old-fashioned clock oils, could help preserve the clock by stopping the clock before it wears out. But I think that's because they gum up early, whereas synthetic oils like the modern Mobius Sinter Visco Lube or HP 1300 and those oils stay liquid for very much longer, which could mean that people are less inspired to have their clocks serviced, and then maybe the clock will overrun its sensible service duration. I think that I don't know, as clockmakers and who will service their clocks and collectors that will look after their clocks, I'd go for the synthetic oil. But maybe a natural oil for somebody, when you want to build in, you don't want a clock to be run for sort of 30 years without servicing it with natural oils, because that's even if they even survive that long. Difficult to say, but we like HP 1000, HP 1300. But I think today we'll probably use D5, D3 or D5. So that's it. So we'll keep these screws and washers in the right places. So I've got a team of people around me looking expectantly to help clean. Okay, there's another plate. Or maybe I can clean this plate. Right, so what we're doing now is just pick up the parts and start handing over. So if I give the wheel train this? Yep. I want to keep all the screws separate though, so I'll group them like that. Forgotten what that is. I think that's for the strike hammer. Okay, so I hand that over to Stella maybe. So we're just examining, we're doing some, thank you sir, just careful because they tend to roll around, so I've got a hand on that roller there, so if you just keep, try not to let them rub, yeah, okay, thank you. And just, so the reason I'm also keeping these separate is to try and keep the screws independently of each other, please. Thank you. So I can do this. Yeah, I'll give you the barrel. Actually, we'll have a quick look at the barrel. I mean, you can make a start on that. There's the strike hammer. So now we're handing over to the team.
That's clean.
Yeah.
They're all evidence
Okay.
of old fingerprints.
Well, have you already cleaned it?
Yeah.
Justin would have taken like 3 weeks to service that clock.
That's the finger line.
That's why I'm not in the business of servicing clocks for a living. Oh wow, okay. I mean, you're gonna clean it faster than I can disassemble it. Right. Thank you, Stella. My goodness. Okay.
Like I say, there are some
Yeah.
old fingerprints.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll look at that on camera. And actually, I can show this stuff when I put it back together. So, shall I give you that?
Yeah, can do.
So Jim was saying it's probably not necessary to disassemble that, but I'll leave it to you. Okay. Yeah.
I'll take that up.
If you want, yeah. You do it much quicker than I
Yeah, that was pretty quick. I'm not sure it's a good idea for me to clean this now, given how fast everything's happening. Right, so what we were just chatting about was these marks. See what everyone thinks. Let's just have a quick look the chat. Are the standoffs turned from a single piece of brass? The standoffs or pillars are indeed turned from a single piece of brass, but they are castings. So what we don't often think about these days, where we've got availability of sheet metal and bar stock, is that most clock parts, going back even into the early part of the 20th century, will have been cast. So all of these plates would have been castings, hammered, filed flat, and then that's your plate. The pillars would have been supplied as castings. It's also kind of slightly less wasteful of material to use a casting, because you can cast the shape broadly like that, and then just refine it in turning. Whereas if you imagine this being turned from a piece of solid material, all of that would be turned away and kind of thrown in the bin. So the castings are a really interesting way. And if you imagine, say, a fusee, so a fusee, they would have been made with castings. Even watch fusees were cast. Everything was cast. There was no kind of sheet material for pretty much all of horology's history. It had all been cast materials. So, yes, what we were looking at was these finger marks. Now, some clockmakers would polish those marks out. That cannot be removed. That's etched into the metal. So those are very old finger marks, and whoever cleaned the clock before has also taken the decision to leave them in and not polish them away. So it's a conservator's approach. Depends on you. It depends on your clock. I mean, this is an institutional situation, and this is very much a judgment call, but you can see that the corrosion has sort of been arrested, but it has left a certain amount of pitting. Let's see if I can adjust the focus a bit. Yeah, so it's etched a little bit. When I made a video about the Larkham Kendall watch, which is at Greenwich Observatory, I made a video there with Rory McAvoy, and we noted that there were fingerprints on the edge of K1, and that's a 250-year-old, very important, historically important clock. We have no idea whose fingerprints those are. We'll probably never know. They're highly unlikely to be Larkham Kendall's or Thomas Earnshaw's fingerprints, because they wouldn't have done it. But the decision was to leave those fingerprints in place, and so that is a very nuanced judgment call that is often having to be made. That is now benign. It's not going to get any worse because all the oxidative materials have been removed. But some dealers or some collectors would polish that away. It's inside the clock. It's not doing any harm. My vote would be to just leave it as is. Martin Foster has said a pause is needed, if only to get a new glass of red. Well, Martin, if you're drinking good quality red, for example, French, maybe South African, or Italian, then we'll allow you a break. But don't fill yourself up with wine from Australia. It's no good for you. Right, so let's just catch up on the chat. In a domestic environment, greater likelihood the clock will run years after it's been significantly contaminated. Yes, true. Different inside a watch. D3 or 5 is good. Yeah, I think it's all right. Someone had a rusty hand. Well, not necessarily, because the clock overall is in good condition, and there's not much other evidence of corrosion. It could just be an unlucky moment, I would say. Open Clock Club Archive says they agree with leaving the fingerprints. The clear message is to wear gloves. You cannot legislate for others. I agree, but gloves are not flawless either, because if I touch my hair or my face, or if I put gloves on and off, or if I grab the glove out of the box with a sweaty hand, I'm touching the outside of the glove, and then I put the glove on, and I think, oh, I've been all conservative, but there might be something on the outside of the glove. Certainly, I think surgeons and things might put 2 layers of gloves. So first they put gloves on, and they put another glove on. So just wearing a glove doesn't give you license to be careless, I would say. It's just one tool in the toolbox. Right, and in all of that, I've done no cleaning whatsoever. So let's get some white spirit. So that's cleaned. The obligatory ice cream tub. We just got some white spirit here, which is just a kind of universal solvent, not the universal solvent. I've got a Glasgow brush, really just to wash. We're not using any ammoniated fluids, we're not using any strong chemical at all. Definitely not in this setting. It's not necessary. All we're doing is just washing off what is really liquid oil. Sorry, I've got a stand to do this, and you're just looking at my torso. Sometimes, if oil is very gummed up and gluey, then you have to resort to other methods. Because oil polymerizes over time, and the long chains connect to each other, and then they can't be dissolved in a solvent. And then you have to mechanically attack them, or use something like a paint stripper to break down the bonds in the oil. But all the oil in this clock is still liquid, and so it's washing away very nicely. So no reason to do anything other than what I'm doing now. I will take the pillars off in a minute, because I don't want there to be any risk of this white spirit sitting under those washers. I should be pointing this to the camera, I guess. Right, I'm going to let that stand in there for a minute while I get some paper towels. Now you know why this bench looks so patinaed. Greetings from Yorkshire, Maggie Music. Hello. Coating. Where can clocks... Diamond Bill, yes, you are right. Margaret River wines are world class, but I'm just making sure Martin's still awake by ribbing him about the quality of Australian wines. It's nothing to get his blood up there than a comment about Australian wine. Okay, so rust hand is a condition where some people generate acids and oils in their sweat that will etch into even stainless steel. Yeah, people do. It happens. But even if you don't have rust hands, the finger oils and that, even on somebody with sort of dry hands, may leave marks, or it may cause something to react later down the track. Margaret River wine, absolutely. Were clocks of this period preserved in a shellac? If so, can you say, are there modern equivalents which can be used today? Coating, yes, absolutely. It used to be, and still is, very common to lacquer the plates of clocks. Many clockmakers do lacquer the plates, and you could just use cellulose lacquer, or I don't know what they would have used in antique times. I don't think did they lacquer? Yes, I think they did. And there were instrument lacquers that were made of resins. I can't remember the name now, but classic like Damar resin and those sorts of resins dissolved in turpentine, sometimes with a coloring agent like a red lacquer. That's where you see that beautiful sort of red color on old microscopes and so on. And I think they used to add a small amount of, I think I read that they added borax or boric acid to the mix to harden it. I don't know if that's valid to a chemist, but that's what I read in early lacquer, like instrument lacquer. But with lacquer, it's very important that you don't get lacquer on any of the pivot holes. So that would be a terrible idea. So you'd have to stop off the pivot holes before you lacquer the plates. Even if you just use kind of rattle can lacquer, cellulose lacquer, I think is the way. Just to slow down the oxidation, and it can be washed off with a solvent. I'm just giving this a crude first cleaning now, and then I'll go through with a clean pegwood later. I don't know what these holes are. Oh, those are steady pin holes. The chat. Great to see the Institute washing in white spirits. Yeah, I mean, ammoniated fluids probably have their place, but you always go for the least intrusive intervention possible. Martin, Margaret River, completely agree. So does Justin, but he's a bit shy to say so. Say what? Hello? Sorry, the signal is terrible all of a sudden. People asking me to agree that Australian wine is good. Hello? I just said it. There, did you hear me? Okay. Stella, do you have a really fat piece of pegwood? Like thick pegwood? I've got a couple of holes here that are oh yeah, that might do it. The barrel arbor. Okay, yep, I can give it a shape. I'll keep your okay, so you don't want that wedge?
No,
That's okay. I'll just make a Okay, so we've lost one camera because something happened to the cable. It's all right. That's easily fixed. Oh, we've lost all the picture now. Oh no. What's happened? Can everyone still hear us? We seem to have lost some kind of something. Is this still connected, Jim? Yeah. If everyone can hear us, please just leave a note in the chat. Okay. And vision? Is vision still on? Thank you for letting us know. Okay. No, we had a bit of a cable it's got snagged in the background. Yeah, maybe there. Yep. No, because I want to rinse this again. That's not lacquered, is it? No, that doesn't look lacquered. No. Oh, picture okay now. So does that mean you lost the picture earlier, everyone? Okay, so I think I need to turn around and start cleaning these holes from the other side. Oh, that's quite dirty. So just a few words about the group. So we're the CNM group or the conservation group, and we tend to meet here at Upton Hall about once a month in the summer months at any rate, when the weather's reasonable. Although Upton Hall is nice and warm now that we've been able to sort out the boiler, and so we meet and we work on the clocks in the collection of the Museum of Timekeeping. And we'd encourage anyone who wants to come along. I mean, we do actually try and do, get through as much work as we can. It's not just a kind of social thing, but it's a great opportunity to meet some very experienced clockmakers. I mean, the CNM group and the Project 150 clock building is perhaps where I learned more, than many other places. But the conservation group is always scouting about for members. So if people are interested to come along and share your skills and work on some of these amazing clocks, I mean, when else would I have had the opportunity to work on an amazing clock with such a rare escapement? And it's only thanks to association with a museum that I've been able to do this. So Martin says that Renaissance wax is very good and widely used in the conservation fraternity, and everyone's giving a thumbs up. My only thought about Renaissance wax, like if you're waxing the plates of a clock, it's isn't it a temptation for oil to go and mix in with that wax, unless you stay very consciously clear of the pivots. That would be my concern. I mean, you have to do the same thing with shellac or lacquer. I'm just going to go offline for a minute on the audio. So Jim was just telling me that he likes to use epilam, in fact, even on clocks, and that he would draw a ring of epilam just around the pivot holes on both sides. Yeah, both sides of the plates, and then also inside the pivot holes, and that would help to keep the oil really in that area. It's kind of a barrier to the oil moving. And then he'd also use microcrystalline wax, but be very careful with it, not just to sort of wipe it all over the surface, but to very carefully clean it. There is another thing about cleaning that I tend to wash my clocks with soapy water. Just kind of washing up liquid will get rid of a lot of this muck in the plates, as long as there's no steel work involved. And then de-water with meths or something. Brilliant, thank you. I seem to be just creating more black than anything else here. I think I might give it a rinse and then go in with a dry piece of pegwood. Oh dear. So we've just been pegging away while chatting. Martin Foster agrees about the epilam. Completely agrees, not just agrees, completely agrees. So the idea with the live streams as well is to try and do, while the conservation group is sort of in force, as in like when those weekends that we do meet, to do a live stream every month. As I said right at the beginning, last month we did work on an IWC minute repeater and also looked at some antique minute repeating watches. Next month, I'm not sure what we'll do because we've got a big exhibition next month, and so we may not do this sort of sit-down live stream, but maybe we'll do a kind of walkthrough of highlights of the museum, something like that, because we have quite a lot on the boil late in October, and we're expecting quite a few people through the door, and it may be too much. I mean, setting up this live stream has pretty much dominated the activities here for 2 days, and so it can be a bit disruptive. And so while we've got a big exhibition on, it may not be the best use of the time to set everything up. I mean, we've got 3 cameras, we've got 2 laptops, we've got a monitor, we've got about maybe 6 to 8 kilometers of wiring all spread around the place. So it's and we also decided this time to do it on YouTube, because last time we did it on Facebook. And that was alright. It was easier to set up, but I don't think it got the reach there. But I think we didn't advertise it as well as we did this time. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Open Clock Club Archive. You're having to disappear now. Yeah, brilliant. My YouTube channel. That's a long conversation. It's on the cusp of a regeneration. I've taken 7 years to film the second episode to an exercise, but it's been an interesting thing. But for now, we'll do the live streams on the BHI channel. So thanks for joining us, Open Clock Club Archive. Are you minded to say who you are? I'm not sure I know your name, but you may not want to say it in public, so if you don't want to, then that's fine. Okay, the pegwood is getting cleaner. But then again, only just. We still got the escapement to do as well. Oh, okay, so escape wheel. Thank you. And we've got pallets, etc., but it's not disassembled. Stella, is that one for you? Oh, yes, please. If you've disassembled it, definitely reassemble. Yeah, thank you. Actually, Jim and I were chatting, and it would be much simpler for that to be done off camera. By sheer coincidence, the one camera I couldn't get in focus all day has just happened to be in focus right now, so why not? Let's do some pegging out in Technicolor. So I think that black is also just the residual kind of white spirit that's just pooling back in the hole. I think the holes are actually mechanically clean. We just need to give it a good rinse now, because the plates are still full of fluid. Actually, I wanted to do this top one. Yeah, that's clean. Maybe not. Actually, let's make best use of our wood. I like to clean holes of different sizes as I go along, that way I use different parts of the cone. Martin Foster recommended that I use kebab sticks. Not kebab sticks, particularly shazlik kebab sticks, bamboo ones. And the argument is that bamboo contains a certain amount of silicon. It draws up silicon from the Earth's minerals, to the extent that some bamboo actually you end up with silicon crystals within the segments of the bamboo. You know, it's grown in there, but it's got a very mildly abrasive aspect to it that cleans things very, very well. So that's Martin's tip, Martin Foster. Oh, let me see what Robin Batchelor says. Peter Amos described the thumbprint in K1. Oh, goodness. Peter Amos described the thumbprint in K1 beautifully in Pioneers of Precision Timekeeping, calling the culprit a barbarian and a villain, and I would add Philistine. Upon opening the case, my nostrils were assailed with a vile odour of rancid oil, whilst the appearance of the movement was most disheartening. The brasswork was tarnished, almost black in places. Yeah, well, that says a lot about conservation practice in the early part of the 20th century, I guess. That's a lovely quote, Peter, Robin, and well done for remembering it. Yeah, Pioneers of Precision Timekeeping, a very important monograph in horology. But certainly, when I was privileged to sit with Rory as he expounded the clock and had it in pieces on his bench, it was not black nor rancid. But yeah, that smell of rancid oil is quite distinctive. Stella, did you take the escapement? Oh no, you're doing the barrel. What can I give that? And I think that's pretty much it then. You can take that to pieces. I've given David the escapement. I think you should.
I don't know if you want me to do it as I assemble it, whether you're using the D5.
When you say that, what do you mean?
Take the pin out and just...
Oh, so had you had that pin out?
Yeah, it's all...
Okay. So no, I think if you disassemble it and lubricate the internal parts that I won't access, and the ratchet and all of that, then I'll just do the pivots when I assemble it.
Okay. You're using the...
Yeah, let's use the D5. Thank you. So just chatting to Stella, everyone. Stella, do you want to say hi to the world? Okay. There's Stella Hayward. Okay. This is where clock cleaning becomes cathartic. You sort of end up in a bit of a trance. I'll just pivot. Pegging. I think I should stop now. Really, I've gone about far enough with this. But I might go and rinse this at the sink. Actually, maybe Nick, could I hand that over to you, please? Shall I take these pillars? I'll take the pillars off. I'll leave that to you. But I've pegged it. But if you just give me a nice finishing, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so let's clean the bench a bit. So I haven't actually done that much cleaning. Clockwork by teamwork. Okay, so we'll just clean the bench a bit. Oh, thanks. Somebody handed me these pipe cleaners and an earbud. I think that might have been Jim earlier. Yeah, the pipe cleaners are very good for some of the wider holes. You can actually buy really fat pipe cleaners, and you can buy special pipe cleaners from the conservation suppliers that don't have scratchy wire up the middle. You know, they have something else, and they're quite fat. You know, like centimeter or whatever fat. Really, really handy. Okay, so time for reassembly nearly. I'm going to change these gloves. So, yeah, just right, I'm just going to have a quick. Oh, and also the wood chips. I wanted to get rid of those. So we had 151 views so far, with the most number online at any one time being 27. So, yeah, thanks everyone for persisting with us. Time for reassembly. Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, it's got writing on the back of this clock.
Okay.
It's got some writing on the back of it.
What's it saying?
Be careful. You might cross somebody up to the whole internet.
What does it say? I think it says.
18 something, yeah. So I purposely put, I thought people might want to see things in the back. And also okay. We've got this in the background, that's the horse that will mount the clock on once it's reassembled. So that's what that panel is there. Okay, so reassembly, reverse of how we started. Oh, but I'll just wait for Nick to finish with the plates. So is there anything that we need? Oh, actually, Robin Batchelor's given us more info. Has Martin gone? Oh, it's 10 p.m. upside down in the world, so we'll catch up next time. Good night, Martin. So Robin says, whilst on the back plate was preserved the thumbprint of some unknown barbarian who had rudely clapped hold of the movement the most convenient way. Preserved that thumbprint was and is. Well, I shall not, hopefully, if I'm going to be called a barbarian, it will be for something else. Right, I think what I should do is just make sure I've got oils and things set up right. I mean, I've got the tiniest oiler known to man, so I might find them. Do you have an oiler ready to go, Stella?
No, I was using my watch hand screen.
Okay. So I'm hoping to avoid.
I haven't got the boiler.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll just prepare one there. I mean, I've got a watch on there, but it's
I don't think I've got the boiler.
But it's a long brush in there. Yeah, maybe I'll do one over the brass and everything. Yeah. Okay, time to make an oiler, because don't hammer on the ice, they say. Not doing very well. It's a hard pin anyway. Oh no, I didn't want to use something hard like that. Yeah, the brass is it's okay. I've got it's done. It's fine. I just speak to the file. So we're also kind of just waiting slightly with the plate. after 2 hours. Okay, so that's just a little temporary oiler. I'll find a pin right to hold it. I think half my pin vices are taken up in in brass tooling. Oh, the maximum now that we've had join us was 30. It's gone up. I think having the beard helps disguise the sight of this microphone. Okay. Right, I thought maybe while, just before we reassemble everything, we could admire some of these wheels, because earlier I was admiring the beautiful way that the crossings had been cut. So I'll just, no, well, I can go to this, I can go to that camera, Jim. There we are. Yeah. Yeah, lovely. So really just looking at how you can just see the beautiful little line that they've turned at the root of the crossings there. Really good, honest work. I mean, it's there was also the markings of where the work had been fine-tuned by the maker. That may have been in the center wheel. It's not too bad there. We're not quite catching the little file marks, so let me see if I can just change the angle. Just catch the light. Yeah. So now, if you look, actually, what happened to that lovely golden color we had up a second ago? I guess it just self-adjusted. If you look in the root, there's a tiny notch. It's not really a notch, it's just where the file has just touched the corner. Thank you. Of every root of every tooth. And that is where the clockmaker has gone in with a special file, and it just touched up that kind of bishop's mitre shape of every tooth, just to tweak it as he pushed it round and tested the fit of the wheel. Yeah, so we were just chatting among ourselves. Actually, could we open the aperture here slightly, Jim? This is, oh, that's better. Yeah, okay. So we're just chatting about the little notches, and so the teeth would have been just gashed out initially, just slotted, and then the clockmaker would have filed that shape. But the understanding is that when the meshing was just right, they would just leave that little witness mark in the root to almost as an evidence. Okay, like I've done this one right next, and so it's a little evidence mark to kind of remind the clockmaker of which ones he's worked on already. But look at how beautifully consistent it is all the way around. As you know, the depth of each one and the shape, beautiful, all done by hand. And I saw, you know, they say if you have a handmade suit or whatever, the tiny little imperfections that show, well, that's definitely a handmade wheel, because it's been filed and you can see Just very, very gentle. This side there, yeah. You can just see very gently how that's all just been done by hand. If it had been done by a machine, it would have been absolutely kind of perfect. Look at this one. You see just a tiny divergence away from the line. I just think that's so... The craft is so evident in the thing, but it's done to a very high standard, but not kind of too high, if that makes sense. So, anyway, just beautifully done. Absolutely beautiful piece of work. That side as well. That one there, look at that. 6 crossings. Yeah. So is everyone in the chat experienced in clockmaking, or what are your backgrounds? I mean, some of you we know, or maybe you don't know each other. I'm just observing what's happening on the other side of the room. Thank you, Nick. I think you've gone well above and beyond what I thought you were going to do. Thank you for that. You're going beyond what I thought you were going to do. Okay. Is there anything I can do to help? Okay. Okay. We'll just check that our oil pot is ready to go. Yep. D5, our oiler. So BitQuests, working mostly on wristwatches as a trained watchmaker. Pendulum clocks are a passion of mine. Where are you, BitQuests? Dancer with Artfox, no clockmaking experiences, just a few repairs. Tarka's Head, watch and clock repairing. Yeah, thanks, Robin. I just love seeing the way things are made. It's so kind of educational to understand maybe the mind of the maker, and also what we can achieve if we see how others did it and what was considered good work for them. You know, I also think that the quality of horology has gone up immensely. I mean, if you look at the work being done in Switzerland in watchmaking now, it's amazing. There's no way that the watchmakers of old were matching what the Swiss can do now. The black polishing that they do is unbelievable. And it just wasn't done as well in past years. But it also almost puts out of reach in the imagination of new entrants the fact that it is just so good. Whereas when you see really good quality but honest work like this, it kind of inspires you to think, well, I could do that maybe if I try hard. Whereas if you look at, a Breguet minute repeat or something, like how could you? It's just it's orders of magnitude. So it kind of keeps it out of reach for students. Whereas I think, if students see something that's really lovely, maybe a couple of imperfections here and there, but it's honest and it's just it's attainable. And I think that helps maybe keep people interested in trying to achieve the same and better. Okay, from Germany, working in Switzerland. Frank Wagner, Arizona, NAWCC, brilliant. You met Rory last June, fantastic. Yeah, I'd love to go and see that museum now that he's working there. Yeah, it's amazing to have everyone from all around the world. I'm not sure YouTube actually saves the chat. Clockmaker and restorer of over 60 years. Goodness me, West Oxfordshire, Peter Meacham. Thanks, Peter, for sharing that with us. 60 years experience, amazing. I wanted to have a look at this snail. It's been blued, but then part of it's been polished. Rory has his hands full. Oh yes. I mean, it's a bit like the museum here in the BHI. It could be, you know, I think places like this need horologists, and somebody who understands museums a bit. You see, I'll touch my head now with a glove. Just what I said, we should be careful against doing. Oh dear. Right, just reaching across and getting another glove. Actually, these gloves, the gloves I brought from home are quite thin, but these ones are nice and thick, the BHI ones. But they're also quite small. Well, my hands are quite big, so it's hard to get these ones on. Watchmaker in WA, is that Western? Oh yes, Western Australia, because you were speaking about Perth before. Currently professional development officer for our association. Oh yeah. I think we know each other, Diamond Bill. So, seeing as our cameraman has gone away, I've got to make sure that I find the focus rather than letting the focus find me. So that's that lifting snail. I noticed one thing, and I thought that there were steady pinholes in the plate for this bridge, for the hour wheel bridge or whatever it's called. Is this the front plate? Yes, this is the front plate. I'll just have a quick look at this. Oh no, this is the. Yeah, this is the front plate. Sure, I can't remember how many of this goes back. Oh no, there were no steady pinholes. Oh, that is interesting. Sometimes these bridges have steady pins. Okay, I'm going to do a... Oh. Oh yeah, so these were the two screws that were slightly different. And so just to see, there's a tiny dot in the corner of this and none on that side. And there's a little dot on the plate there, implying that that's the way around it goes, and the smaller screw I think was up above, so I'm just going to do a test assembly. Sorry about the noise. Okay, I think that's I wasn't okay, yes, I think that is the right way around. Okay, it's just for when we reassemble it. I just got to see, this may be important. So we're just waiting now for the final part to come in from the wash. And the guys have got a difficult job there because the screws were, well, they were full of muck, as often happens. Let's just have a look at the maintaining power for those who are. So not everyone's seen, a clock like that. And so here you have this spring. So you see it's quite a strong kind of steel spring there. And what happens is that all the torque, if you look at the way the ratchets work, so you wind the clock, say clockwise looking from the square side, but if I twist it, you can see that there's some relative motion between these two wheels, the actual great wheel and the maintaining ratchet. So I can push it backwards against the clock's own ratchet, but only a little bit. See, so the clock's ratchet allows us to go that way. I'll see if I can get rid of some of this line here. I'll just do the focus. Oh, that's the iris. Sorry about this, everyone. I'm now fiddling with the camera settings. Yes, that's better focus. Not sure it's perfect, but it'll do. I need to come towards this thumb. There we are. Okay, so that's the main ratchet. But you see, if I turn the thing against the ratchet, it can still move. And it can move as far as that steel spring on the back allows. And so what happens is that direction is actually the direction that the line gets tugged, like wants to unwind. And so the first amount of mass on the drive weight first cocks that spring, and then it drives the clock. So when you then remove the weight off the clock, or say when you wind it the opposite direction, that spring pushes this round just for like a few minutes. And that's how Harrison maintaining power works. See, so if I turn against the ratchet, that spring charges up, and now the clock drives. Throughout the clock being running, it's running with that spring in the tension state, and then the minute you remove pressure off the drive weight by raising it up, that pushes through, and that's what we have this other ratchet for, pointing the other way, is to stop that from releasing itself. Sorry, I'm working the wrong side of the camera. Yeah, so that goes in there like that. Right, and the chaps have done a fantastic job of preparing the plate. My goodness, thank you very much, guys. How was my pegging out? It was okay. Thank you. No, I was asking, what did you make of the... was it an acceptable degree of pegging out? So you can tell me the truth. What's that? Oh, lovely, thank you. Not a sandwich. So for the last live stream, I did it all with no tea. This live stream I did with half a cup of tea. So I'm getting better and better. Yes, I think that's been done. Okay. Oh, I wanted to see what was written on the back of this.
Yes, on the back.
I'm going to put my eyeglass on to read that. So we've got some ancient graffiti on the back of that escapement cock. It's upside down. Yeah, it's actually picking up very well there. But I'll just read it. Maybe William Clemenson, 60, maybe 60, 60. And then, Wylam. That's the town the clock came from. Wylam, yeah. Wylam. I can't make out what that says. 1874. And then it also says 18... No, it says 1806 something. DECEM. Oh, December 1816. Would be 1816, yeah. December 1816.
That sounds about the date it will be made.
Yeah. And then there's a 6 right at the end of this bit. I think it's a 6. That's getting into the scratching on the there. Wylam. V something Y. Yeah. I don't know if I can decipher that. Or an M and an O and an A. Should take a photograph of this before we reassemble it, just to see if we can kind of get a record of that. Might be useful to do. I don't know if we're going to capture that. Actually, a video might be better. I'll just zoom in slightly. December, yeah. Okay. So just make a visual record of that. Okay, so that's the escapement reassembled there. And actually, just one last thing is to look at the pallet faces, which are quite interesting in this clock. So you see the polished surface there, where the wheel would ride up. There is a small amount of wear. Actually, it looks deeper on screen than it is in real life. I mean, it's very slightly worn in, but not really much. And then, of course, the little corner, and that's the feature of Mudge's gravity escapement, where the tooth catches in that little notch, and that's what actually locks the train, and that's why it's so prone to running free, because there's not a lot holding that train locked. And so a small jar, or if you turn the hands backwards, I imagine sometimes it could just dislodge it at the wrong moment. And so, but beautifully made thing. And there on the other side again, you've got that slope. So see the faces are sloped so as to push the part away. As the wheel rides up it pushes it away. As it rides up this side, it pushes it away as well. Okay, so we'll start with the reassembly now. Okay, so I need to just keep my wits about me with the oiling. Actually, Jim, do you mind slightly reconfiguring that big camera? Because I'd like to work in this position. Yeah, I think something like that would be handy if you could. Yeah, brilliant, thank you. Okay, so the guys had put this line nicely. Now, was it the center wheel first? Let's have a look. Let's just sort out this line. Right, just kind of do a light reassembly just to remind myself how it went together. Was that there? Or no, maybe the barrel was I think the barrel was the last thing and it's the lowest. Maybe not. No. This one, oh dear, touching metal to metal, sorry. I'm not sure the focus, is the focus alright? Just on this great wheel. Yeah, it looks alright. Actually, on my computer monitor, it's probably alright. I could probably join the stream myself, but actually, I don't want to start meddling now. Okay, so then we've got this wheel. No, that goes this way up. Right, and then we've also got the maintaining ratchet, which has to go. Is it like that? No. Is it like that? No. Okay, don't worry, I'll work it out. Oh, so it gets. Does it weave through there? Yeah, that's it. We've got a question. What kind of material is the line? Yes, it's a very strong fishing line, nylon, and that's absolutely fine to use on a clock like this. It's wire rope, even bronze can damage the surface of the barrel. So it's just a high tensile nylon fishing line, really. I think the latest one that people like to use is Dyneema, because it doesn't stretch. So there's a type of cord, and I think that's the one we used on the weight drive of the 150 clock. I think it's Dyneema, and it's coated. Oh no, that's stainless steel coated, isn't it? Yeah, that's got stainless steel, but with a nylon coating. But I think the non-stretchy type is called Dyneema. I think fishing line still stretches to a small amount. I'm just going off air for a second. Jim was just saying, and then I said to Jim, well, he should share these insights directly, that this particular line came from ABC television back in the day, because Jim was a specialist in outside broadcasting, and he said that this is pre-stretched nylon line, so that it no longer stretches when you apply any tension, and it was used for scene setting. So in other words, rigging up the scenery in on television sets and so on. So pretty serious stuff. You can't have the few times when sets fall down on live TV, it goes down in history and it gets repeated every time. So the riggers and whatever in TV make jolly sure that their lines do not fail during a live broadcast. things I look forward to learning from. So there we Okay, so one use only for them, especially made for that purpose. Very interesting. So you've got a supply of this for your clocks. Also, this line, remember we said that the mass of the driving weight is absolutely critical in this clock. Not 1 ounce more or less, and in this case, it's only 6 pounds, so 3 kilos. So the 150 pounds breaking strain. Okay, and so if you didn't hear that, Jim said that this line has 150 pound braking strength. So we're well out of the danger zone there. Okay, so where can the clock be seen once it's been serviced? Was it mentioned before? No. So the clock is being deposited, shall we say, at the Museum of Timekeeping, which is in the same building as the British Horological Institute. So you'll be able to come and see the clock at Upton Hall, and I'm not sure we'll have it in its case by the time of the exhibition in October. So we've got one day on the last Sunday of October. If anyone's in the UK, come and visit. We'll be opening for our last day of the year, because we sort of then mothball for the rest of the season. But we've got a big exhibition, and we've got amazing things to show, including George Daniels' pocket watch, and a pocket watch made by Derek Pratt, and that's an exceptional opportunity to come and see those watches close up. But we'll have this clock out. We'll mount it on the horse, and we'll make sure no one bumps into it, and you'll be able to come and admire it in situ on Sunday, the day the clocks go back, whatever day that is. I think it's the 27th of October, possibly. Whatever it is, the last Sunday in October, you'll be able to come and see it at Upton Hall. Just check the website. Okay, so I think I'm done now with my pre-assembly, and I should get on with the real job. This is classic Justin delaying doing the actual job by doing a version of the job that doesn't actually require finishing. Right, so let's just finish. So we'll dismantle that. So I think, Jim, I don't know what your practice is, but I like to, for some of these bigger arbors, I like to oil them now. Yeah, because it's easier to. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we'll get my recently made oiler. Now, where's the oil? There we are. Okay. And we're happy with this oil throughout, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh yes, look at lovely golden colour.
Farther down on the shoulder a bit.
I was going to push it onto the shoulder, don't you think?
It does,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And stroke out along the boot, you see, as
Okay.
touch the corner. But it doesn't matter much, I suppose. I don't like a big puddle inside either.
Yeah. Okay, so I just don't want this wire hook to scratch anything while I go. This was the bottommost thing in the clock, wasn't it? Yes, it was.
Centre arbor is probably best to have it in first because of the fact you've got to kind of pick that up again with oil on it, possibly if you're going to.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Classic thing. I went to all this trouble of reassembling at first, and then I didn't remember which way around it happened after all. I'm so distracted by chit-chatting. And I think,
That's it.
yeah. Let's see if I can stop this. I just don't want this line moving everywhere while we're working. That's better. Okay, so I can do this what do we call it earlier? A roller. Oh. I didn't catch your name, Diamond Bill. My name is Justin Kalapis. So I do a lot of work with the Horological Journal. So if you look around in the Horological Journal, you'll see my name, Justin Kalapis. We need more oil than that. Maybe another. Yeah, I think a little bit more oil there would do. No. Yeah. That's a technical measurement. Not too much, just enough. Okay. Right, I think next we'll do the maintaining detent. Or click. Yeah. So we lost the audio there just then. Okay. This does have a lovely consistency, this oil. Was it D? Oh, it is D5. Okay.
Yes, I like everything with D5 on that.
Yeah.
I always like thick oils.
So this is the next wheel along. Actually, from this point, I could actually oil them. I don't need to oil these from the inside anymore.
Yeah, it's best just to smear a touch on to get.
Just to make sure there's. Yeah.
Just a ring and
Okay, so I think that's all for between the plates. Let's just check all these parts. Oh no. The bell standard needs to go on, very importantly. But I think the bell standard. I think that's the hole there for the bell standard. Yeah. Oh no, does it?
Or is it outside?
No. That's a good point. I think it. Well, you know what? I've got some footage of the clock. Sorry, everybody. This is where I'm just going to go offline. I took a little video of the clock last night. And I will just check it to see which side of the plates that screw goes. Where is it now? Okay, there we are. 2 minutes, 15 second long video. That might have been the slow motion, is it? Pause, and then drag. Okay. No. Okay. It's on the outside, and you probably can't see that, but anyway, there's my video.
Yeah.
Screw head is on the outside, so that means we can assemble the bell standard.
Yes, but it's on the inside. It actually mounts.
The bell standard's on the inside, but the screw comes in from.
Not in the brass there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh yes, indeed.
Screw just goes through a plain hole.
Oh yeah, but if that is the bell standard screw, there are some vestigial threads in it. No, that's too close. And I think my eyeglass is fogged up, so. No, there are threads in that hole, so maybe that's not the I'm sure it is. Anyway. Yeah, that's interesting. Fine, so now I'll oil the upper pivots. Now this is where we've got to get the positioning of it right, otherwise we smear oil all over the place where it doesn't want to be. So I'll go. You probably want to see what's going on. Actually, I think in my entire life I've never had an oiler that is just exactly right like this. It's delivering a fantastic amount of oil, and this you just you saw what I did there. Right, that's the pivot there. That's a bit much, to be honest, for that pivot.
It's a touch on.
Yeah. Okay. Now this one always have to think about, that's the area there on the center pinion. And as we said, just wet it. Okay.
Screws.
I've lost the live stream. Let me go back to the streams because I know I've locked my phone. Oh. Where's the chat? Sorry everybody, I'm now... Just touch that with your fingers, Jim. The icon there for the stream. Oh no, it's at the bottom actually of the page. Sorry, that's it there.
That one.
Yeah, the small... No. There we are. Sorry everybody, I don't want to lose the chat, but I've lost the... Oh, live chat. There we are. Okay. Oh, okay. So BitQuest asks, I guess you use HP 1300 for the escapement. No, I think we'll just use D5.
Yeah.
We'll just use D5. Right, I'm just putting these screws down in the same relative position so I can put them back in the right pillars. Matt Burley said, my background is broadcasting. Sorry, I couldn't finish watching this. Glad I paused. So I can finish now. Yeah, we have been going on rather a long time. Very ambitious to have the live stream going on this long. But thanks for coming back, Matt. Which area of broadcasting were you in? So Jim Arnfield was, let me see if I can remember, the head of vision engineering for senior supervisory vision engineer, yeah, for ABC and Granada, was it? Oh, just ABC. Yorkshire TV, yeah. I took care to write that down, when I did that story about the TV clock, because I knew if I write it down, then I don't need to remember it. The title. Okay, so oiled. Okay, now here comes the... Okay, so that's the center. Yep. Yep. Thank you. And the roller. Maybe. I think it's resting on the center arbor square. Yes, that's it. So I don't want to rub at all the surfaces of the pivots on the inside of the plates. So I'm trying to just get them in very cleanly. There we go. Just so you know, I was on my knees then, so I could look along the clock from below, from a low angle. And I don't want to touch the chair with my gloves. Sorry, that's all happening off screen. Right. Okay, so now we can put the pillar screws back on this side. Okay, everything seems to be free. Just look at that. The plates are actually lovely and a gentle glow, you know, but they don't need to be shining like mirrors. Not in this case. Right, so the next steps, I guess, are to put all the work on the front of the clock. And so we'll start now with the... Sorry, Jim, I distracted you with that. Okay, so now I think I need to just reconsider my position when it comes to oiling. I want to just make sure that we've got... I'm going to add oil. What do you think? I mean, if you just espy that, Jim, in there, I think there's too little...
I think I'd like to see it touch more.
Yeah, yeah.
Nearly always you've got to touch them all up a bit.
Yeah. But it's also easier to oil it once it's wet, you know, because the capillary action quickly pulls it in, and my oil is a bit thick, so it's pointy, but it wants to go to more of a blade.
Maybe red oil might be better.
Yeah.
For, touching it up.
It's okay. It's might actually give it a bit more. Let's try the red one. Yeah, I think that's all right. I think that one wants a fair bit more. Yeah, I definitely want to go down to more of a point with the shape of this piece of brass here. Nice. Right, so that ratchet, yeah, that's all right there. Now that wheel, I think we want some more oil on that wheel as well. So while I'm doing that, Jim, just off screen, have a look at that. Under glass. We'll just stop the audio for a few seconds. Back on now. Okay, I seem to be missing some clock parts. Oh, there they are. Good, there we are. So I think the next is the hammer. Now that one I may not oil in advance. I don't know. I'll just have a little practice run because it was.
Like I would smear the small flag slightly.
Yeah, yeah. But I just want to have a trial run of this first.
Yeah. It might be easy to smear that first, though. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay, so it needs to go through those pins. Okay, and our pin is clear, so that's safe to work on.
Doesn't matter where the pin is anymore.
Yeah, but I didn't want to crash into it while I was putting this in. Okay, so that was actually nice and easy. Okay, so now, but I just want to remember, so the pin comes around. This rises up, and then at some point it falls down onto that pin, and then that keeps going round anti-clockwise and it falls. So it means it's the lower part of that flag that we want to oil.
Yes.
It's yeah. Okay, that's fine. And what I noticed is that it does seem as though this thing can't stop the clock necessarily. Like it can't jam against the little pin and stop the clock.
Probably can.
Okay.
You can be unlucky.
Yeah.
It just depends how you set it later.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So. Okay. So we'll oil the lower pivot.
Don't need to touch.
Yeah. Because it doesn't really have any
No, it just is
any torque going through it.
rotation.
Yeah. Okay, and then this lower face of the
Yes. That,
is it the lower face? Yes.
yes, it would drop on that.
Just a smear, really.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, that's it this way. And this time I'll just move that pin away again.
Doesn't really matter at all where the pin is. It's
Well, I just don't want to catch it full of oil.
yes.
Okay. How was lunch? Did you say soup or super? You got something against soup? Okay. So, this is why I'll never be competition to you, Stella. You would have served us about 4 clocks in this time. So I'm not adding lots, it's just I didn't seem to get any of the oiler then.
What I was going to say was you might want to take the line off.
Well, that was going to suggest that earlier, but really I think he's okay.
Take the line off now because you can actually you could pull it off now without
Yeah,
causing any trouble.
okay.
Because otherwise, I mean, if you can get your finger on the click, then obviously you can pull it off. But it's
Oh, I see what you mean.
hard
Yeah.
on the click.
Yes, I see what you mean. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. And that screw. And we use the old. Okay, so Stella's just made a very good piece of recommendation, and that is to no, I'm going to leave it where it is for now, and I'll do it once I've lined everything up in the motion work, because the motion works fiddly and I don't need that line getting in my way.
Well, actually, the best way really is to run a line off first and tie it in a loop separately.
Yeah,
But it doesn't matter on that clock, you just put it out.
exactly, because the escape wheel's out anyway.
One day the
Yeah.
escape wheel's not on, you just put it out.
but it's as
Can get it on the barrel smoothly.
yeah. But my thought is that if the line is tied off somewhere, every move you make on the clock plate tends to move things around, and So I'd be more comfortable leaving it the way it is for now, and then unraveling it at the next step after that. Okay, yeah. Right, I want to re-admire this just to be clear. I mean, who's to say that wasn't even a piece that had been remade? Possibly.
Well, obviously I made that. It was missing probably, or
Okay.
broken or something.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. So you wouldn't have done.
I recognise what it's made out of. It's
Yeah.
actually beryllium copper.
Okay. Okay. So for everyone on the chat, what we've just been talking about, and we're being a bit mysterious, was I saw Jim Arnfield's name scratched into a part of this clock. And at first, I didn't stop and think, and I thought, oh, it's just when it was serviced or whatever. But of course, Jim isn't such a Philistine and a barbarian, because we've been chatting about it now. So it's a little washer spring for the cannon wheel, or cannon pinion. But he signed it because he made it, and so he'd not scratched an antique part. Yeah, exactly. So that we therefore know which are new parts and which are not. But it's nicely filed, square, everything, really neat. And yeah, so at first I thought, but I didn't really stop and think. I just saw the name there, and I thought, well, I'll just leave that off camera. Right, where are we? It's camera this way. Yes, there we are. So that's the little washer. Stockport. Arnfield Stockport, 24th of the 4th, 1974. So somebody asked in the chat, what kind of pendulum is used in this particular clock? Yeah. So it's a very interesting pendulum, and we'll show you in a while. But it's a mercury pendulum with a steel bob. There we are. That's the pendulum. Oh, sorry, I thought I was looking at the audience. So it's a steel bob, mercury jar. It doesn't have the mercury in right now. Beautifully made. Gently domed upper surface, knurled around the edge there. This is a cap that can be lifted away, and I'll show you inside in a second. But what's interesting is obviously you've got the rating nut and the pendulum rod able to just run straight through this this jar. So actually the jar is a kind of, there's a pipe that goes up the middle, and so the jar area is that space in between the inner tube and the outer tube, and it's all welded together. And we believe it's an original pendulum to this clock. Yeah, Jim says he's convinced it is. And so it doesn't really show on camera, but you've got just a little cross piece there, which I guess is sort of centralizing sort of bearing area for the rod itself. And then below that you've got this steel tube that goes all the way to the bottom, and so that would be filled with mercury. Now, why is a you often see these elaborate regulator clocks with beautiful glass jars and ornate brass fittings and so on, but actually that's not the best for precision. If you want precision, you want the temperature to be communicated to the mercury really quickly, and actually glass isn't a brilliant conductor of heat, so a metal tube is the best. And so it might be wrought iron, we're not quite sure, but it's certainly a ferrous metal, and you couldn't use brass with it because the mercury attacks the brass, and so any fittings used in mercury really have to be at least steel or some such things. So that's the pendulum, definitely compensated pendulum, and there it is. And it's quite interesting actually, because the upper area, remember I showed right in the beginning of the stream that the upper part of the pendulum rod, it's in two pieces. So that's the bit that acts between the escapement, and that's beautifully wrought, if you like. It's got shaped nicely with filing marks, and then the two parts latch together and are held with this little thumb screw here, which we'll reassemble later. But it means you can take the pendulum off and move it around without risking damage to the suspension spring or to the escapement. Thank you. Robin Batchelor says, my background is 50 years gainfully employed as a balloon pilot. What? Well, glad you're on terra firma. Employed as a balloon pilot with horology as a welcome intellectual pursuit, but your live stream has given me the confidence to dismantle and clean a clock. Wow, that's brilliant. That's really delightful to hear, Robin, that we've had some good effect. Yeah, fantastic. And get in touch and let us know how you get on. And you've seen some of the practices. I mean, it's very straightforward. You need very simple tools, but you do need a way of thinking that is, well, how can I not damage the clock, or how can I not leave my marks on it, unwanted marks, and just step by step, steady, think your way through. I mean, if you're a pilot, this is going to be dead easy for you. Yeah, a flight in the park, a flight over the park. Okay, so a bit of oil on there maybe. Right, now this is the bit I just want to keep my wits about me, because we need to align these parts. Because remember, right at the beginning we saw there were little alignment dots. So I'll just go back on this camera. So there we see little alignment dot that has to align with the similar mark on its mating member. So I'll just do a trial run. Okay, and then there's this lovely piece which has a counterpoise. And why do we have that? Well, that's because the hands themselves, or the minute hand, is quite unbalanced, and so it just helps even out the power. But again, yeah, okay. So Jim was just saying that it may be also serving to counterbalance the mass of the bell as the bell moves out of is pushed out of the way. This gives it a little bit more urge, I guess, as the clock runs. This little mass tends to pull the train along with it a little. Yeah, okay. But you often see, even on big turret clocks, behind the hands, sometimes within the building, there's. Yeah, but many people don't realize that many clocks have counterpoises behind the scenes just to balance the hands. I mean, like Big Ben has got the hands themselves are counterpoised with mass built into the tail of the hand. That's why hands have tails, to try and offset the imbalance. But also behind the dial, I think there are masses just to help even out the.
The minute hand in particular had to be rebuilt. It was a cast one to start with.
Okay. Oh yeah.
It was too heavy.
Too heavy. Yeah, that's it. And then they did it out of sheet copper, I think it was. Yeah.
For the minute hand only.
Yeah. That's interesting. Sorry, I just got absorbed in something now. I'm going to go back onto the close view. The dot that I thought was the dot isn't the dot. There's a second dot. So I was looking at the bigger little marking. It's a chamfer, but there's an even smaller one up the tooth. So just in case there was any doubt as to which tooth we meant, it means this tooth goes in the gap, because that one could be ambiguous. You see there's a secondary dot. Maybe the first one was too small, I don't know. So that one with a small dot goes in that gap, inside that gap there. the microphone off because I was rubbing against the side of the clock a bit. I don't want to deafen everybody. Right, so yeah, if we test that, so rising. Yeah, so as that mass is falling, it's helping push that up, compensating for it. Yeah, very good. Okay. Right, so I'll redo it with oil this time. I'll put it on the arbor. And actually this glass is too strong now. Sorry, now I'm starting to faff about a little bit. I'll put these magnifiers on. What do you think? Somewhere along here, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a smear on that. Doesn't need much.
Yeah.
Tips. I always on the tips of the.
Oh yes, of the upturned. Yes. Thank you. And we'll oil the snail. Put some oil on that snail. Yeah.
I guess certainly you need just a tray. Smear all the way around. Well,
Yeah, just along it a bit. Yeah.
spread all around the surface of it.
Yeah.
Perhaps 3 spots at various places around, something like that. I would normally do.
You can also see where the wear is.
Yeah, well, that's why I like spots rather than trying to smear it in here or there.
Yeah.
Because obviously when it rotates once, it will carry it around.
Okay. Now for this cock here, I think is the next one to deal with, which is for the minute wheel. Yes, that was the next one. Yeah. No, I think the bridge was first. I don't think it really matters.
I don't think it does.
No.
I would probably put the bridge on first.
Yeah. Stops things flopping around. But then we need... yeah, no, because that cock actually holds back the hour wheel slightly, I seem to remember. So, yeah. Yes, but this stops that riding up.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I did test it earlier. Smear of oil on the outside of that. It doesn't really touch it much, does it? These two surfaces don't really touch, no, so they yeah, yeah.
It's wrongly made or wrongly assembled if it touches.
I was going to use my shorter screwdriver just for the first few turns. Actually, earlier I put the whole like that. Yeah, I put it through first and then dropped that over the screw. Because that doesn't have steady pins, which surprised me.
Yes, it's strange it doesn't have steady pins, but it doesn't.
So I did actually have another screwdriver that I checked on these. I did actually bring a screwdriver that I tested on these screws initially, but then you handed me that, so I just carried on using it.
You were looking for a screwdriver, I thought.
Yeah. Yes, I think I was, but I think I was.
That's the one that a new fit all was.
Yeah, so I think that's right. And in fact, I think the shape of the tip of this one is better than the one I picked out of the shelf there.
That's one of my favourite screwdrivers.
Yeah, it's a lovely, almost like a gunsmith's type of.
My grandfather.
Wow. I wonder if it's Chesterman or something like that.
I don't know. It's
Don't even.
I think it'd be a fairly cheap one, but it is a good screwdriver. The steel's excellent at temper. Never twists at the end.
Okay, so now, so this is the point at which we have to think about the position of the hour hand. So could we grab the hour and minute hands, please? Thank you. Oh yes, I'll just pick this chair up with the back of my hands.
You might want to try that as well.
Yes. Okay. So because the hands are keyed, I mean, there's a square in the minute hand and a little slot in the hour hand. We have to make sure the alignment is all right before I put the hour wheel on. So, and the other thing is this pin for the strike.
Well, I think it's near enough. If you get the drop off of the snail about right,
Yeah.
it's going to drop off, and that would be about 3 minutes to the hour, something of that sort.
But of course, there is a logical kind of. Matt Burley is just on the chat says, I'm ex-BBS, Bloomberg, CNN, studio operations, directing, editing, news, and live producer. Goodness me. Lost a lot of my hearing a while back, so I'm doing more engineering things now. How interesting. Going to the BHI remote course for interest, but of course it's a nice dream to maybe one day leave TV and go into conservation and watchmaking. Oh, so not BBS, BBC. Yeah. Wow, goodness. Well, Matt, I mean, that's exactly Jim Arnfield's career, but he had a dual career, horology and broadcast television at the same time, more or less, for his life. And that's Jim. I don't know if you want to say hi, Jim, but basically, yeah, that's exactly what Jim did. But I think Jim ended up in outside broadcasting. And so, because he was doing like football matches or, you know, outdoor things, they tended to be on the weekend, which left, and because he's very organized, like exceptionally well organized and plans things very well, by, early on in the week, everything was ready for the broadcast at the weekend. And so it left him time in the middle of the week to do horology. So I think that's broadly right. I hope I'm not grassing you up to your old employee, but it's, it sounds as though you had the freedom to do these things, and
I worked a 3-day week for most
yeah.
of my 30-odd-year career in TV.
Goodness. Okay, so Matt, that's the way to organise it. Just get the producers to put things on when when it suits you.
Well, it was mainly because I spent the weekend on all these.
Yeah. Yeah.
Racing and football and all that.
Hmm.
Along with Emmerdale, I worked on Emmerdale for many years.
So just thinking that this alignment isn't critical anyway, because you can move the hand independently of all the other stuff. So
Some of it is to get the strike to work correctly without the pin fouling in the way is quite tricky.
okay, so I just want to. I mean, if we're even close. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's the square we want there.
So then our hand has to go on in
A suitable, yeah.
till 6 o'clock. Oh no, the pin has to be. Yeah, I would normally put it at 6 o'clock so you can see that it's in a straight line.
Okay. Tiny bit of oil there ultimately probably, eh? I think. Tiny bit of oil on the outside of that pipe would probably do on here.
Oh yes, a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
It's only a smear because it rotates very slowly.
Oh, but we mustn't forget the special brass washer, because you see now everything's dropped down a bit too far.
Yeah, well, that's
Okay,
that
yeah.
brass ring was for. It may have been on there. As you said, it has to be for a purpose.
Yeah.
Is it only there?
And it might not have run very well if it was there, and it shouldn't have been there. Right, so let's check this out.
Now that's how I would do it, you see, and if the square, if it all lines up nicely at that, that's the position it should be.
Yeah. I think it's not quite lined up at the moment, so I'll just tweak the... Yeah, it's a bit...
Pretty good.
Well, it's a bit slightly off.
One tooth might be too much.
So I think that's...
Backlash of it. So
Yeah.
backlash might be enough for. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're right. One tooth is gonna be too much.
I think that's about it.
Shall I try one tooth?
What you could do, but I think you'll find it too much.
No, I think one tooth forward is better.
Okay, well,
What do you think? Like that?
well, of course, it
Well, let's just go back. We'll go back. We'll go back a bit. Yeah, I realise.
will bring it up slowly, and then it should be in line when it's exactly in line on the hour. That's perfect, I say.
Yeah, that's lovely. Okay. Right, so that's the position. We mustn't lose that position. That's the mesh there. Ironically now, I still need to take it apart to oil. So what I'll do is leave a little temporary mark, because otherwise I'll have to do all that again. In fact, there's a small scratch on the wheel. I don't know if it doesn't look like it's a self-conscious scratch, but there is a little mark on that wheel. Yeah, I'll just have a look at it again. Yeah, there is a little mark, but it looks not an old mark. I don't know. It's just a normal bit of wear and tear. No, I don't think so. But I think it's a coincidental scratch. That's there. So I'll just lift this. I'm just going to stop it on there for a second. I think that's it. The more I look at these wheel crossings, the more I love the handicraft I see in them. I'm not sure I've got that right. I'll just do this test again. Yeah. No, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Okay, so that's it there. There's the screw. Okay, so now I think we can pull that line out. Doesn't have to go around that way. Yeah, but it's yeah, it doesn't have to. I mean, yeah, yeah. You're getting to the top of the helix, so I'll just push you down a few threads, yeah. Actually, stop it. We've got a knot in it now, so we've crossed the something's crossed over. So yeah, that's easily fixed, but a bit tedious.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's crossed over. It's a couple of turns actually. Yeah.
All the way back.
Yeah, pretty much. Just hold that side. Thank you. I don't want this scratching the plates. Okay, so that's one knot out. Actually, just see if I can I might be able to tease them past each other, which I probably could have done actually the first time, but
Well, that's how it must be
yeah.
threaded through.
No.
So if you leave a big loop in it now, you can just thread it.
Well, I just want to make sure it's No, it is still knotted. There's one knot left, just an overhand kind of arrangement. Thank you. Hold on. Okay. Okay, that's it there. So, yep, it doesn't. Yeah, is it? Maybe something like that. Slightly the way. Okay. Okay, so we've cleared all that. I don't think, did I oil that pivot? Yes, I did oil that pivot. Did I oil that pivot? I'm not sure. Okay. All right. And you said only a smear, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. So now, you said it was all right to put the clock on its face, but I'm not sure. Yeah, but it's leaning against the center arbor. Yeah. But I don't like that block of wood because it's a bit narrow. And well, it's fine. We can do it. We can do it. Yeah, yeah.
If you put it there, you see it can't slide off.
But no, I think that falls underneath the triangle. Maybe it doesn't. No, see that block of wood's not tall enough to do that. Okay, we'll just put it there as we were. Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Right. Time for the escapement. How long does it run? It's an 8-day clock, right? Just a week running. Yeah. So what we call an 8-day clock, or a 1 week. A week and a bit. Okay, so there's the escape wheel. Yes, indeed. And obviously we've got the seconds long extended pivot there for the seconds hand, so we have to oil further back.
One of the reasons it's a good idea to put some on the
Yeah. Well, we're just going to use some magnification for that. Okay, next we've got the escapement assembly, which has been cleaned and reassembled. We want to oil that. Yeah. So that's so I'm just going to oil the escapement pivots at any rate now. Yeah. And these ones, well, I might as well do them now while it's in hand. That second one never really got any. I beg your pardon? Okay, thank you. Should we clean it? I mean, we can always take the pieces and clean it another time. So we've just had, yeah.
The movement is very small, and of course
Yeah.
it's a case of oiling up the pivot there and the teeth of the escape wheel.
Yeah. Well, I might do that once everything's assembled. I'll just give the escape arbor a touch now,
Yes,
just to wet it.
that's right. Yeah.
And I'll do the teeth once everything's assembled.
It will be better later.
Yeah. That's the only, yeah, that's that one. Okay, and so here we go. I think we need to just reframe this and get it back in focus, which it was until I moved that. I think, yeah, that looks alright. It's one of the beauty of the gravity escapement. It's just so, you know, you've got with recoil escapements and things, people are always bending things and moving things, and the escapement depends so much on how everything's set up. With the gravity escapement, it's just, once it's made right, it just goes together.
Well, that's true. Any
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
the better they are, the easier they are to take apart and
Yeah. Okay, I'm slipping here, but at least I'm slipping with brass, not steel. Why is it snug? Feels a bit snug. me just free this one a bit. Maybe the steady pins are not quite. Oh, that's all right. Okay, that's my left hand. I do not want to risk that. Let me just... Yeah. Okay, well, if I'm going to...
Actually, I was going to suggest oiling the escapement now, the teeth of it, not now, but when it's actually on the horse.
Yeah, I was thinking, as you were about to say that, I was wondering if that's what you were going to say. Okay, yeah, so I think that the mechanical work now is kind of done. So the next thing, I think we'll reframe that camera so we can see what's happening on the horse. What do you think?
If you want, I'll pan it across.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna just lose the microphone for a second. Oh, you're gonna use that cam. Oh, you're not gonna use this one here. Oh. Okay. Oh, sorry, wrong. Shall I use that mic as well? Oh, they're both on now anyway, because I'm standing up. I'll just... Okay, so I want to reconfigure this line before I do that.
Well, just let it dangle for your catch.
Well, I want to feed it through first, so it dangles the right way, so I don't have to fiddle with it once it's on the horse.
Sorry. Oh, and the seat board wants turning over. Hang on.
Oh, no, that's the right way. That's
You would better have the back out, and so.
So we can see the pendulum. Okay, all right. So it's all systems go here, everybody.
Well, we won't put the dial on yet.
No. Well, I think we'll just leave the dial. Yeah, we'll leave the dial. Right, we're getting towards the end of it all, but it's going to be fun seeing it ticking, and you also see how we apply the pendulum, or attach the pendulum. So I'm going to pick the movement now off the bench, and I'm going to put it facing, with the back facing outwards.
That's the size of the pin, so it's quite big.
Yeah, that'll fit.
Will it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just
Absolutely. Okay.
just put it through.
There you
Looks pretty good. Except we've got a lot of reflection off the lights.
Are we looking at the same thing? No, sorry, I've got the wrong camera set up. Sorry, everybody. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
We lost it. Do you want to do that shot again?
if you want.
Okay, go on. We'll give everybody the real deal. Sorry, I picked the wrong camera set. The wrong camera. Sack the director. I don't know what Matt Burley would have made of that.
find some oil now.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, we're ready now.
I'm stepping across the view.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just feed this line through the seat.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, so I've got the weight limit there. I still got this wrong. gravity.
Yeah, it isn't glazed.
I think I assembled the floor way up. Yeah. It's too far. This should be end for end.
I see.
Okay, I'll sort it out later. I'll sort it out
Yeah,
later.
it doesn't match at the moment.
No. So we'll get a bit of turn on the line, just to take up the excess.
Well, it's wound up a little.
Yeah, but I want to get it away from the floor.
Well, I think it'll be okay to put the weight on now. And we can be on the floor and so. I've got it.
Okay.
Right, just wind it up with your fingers. But more. Keep going. It'll say tight now.
Yeah. Trying to give some clearance on the board. Get it in the centre. Okay.
Oh, it needs that try to come out.
Yeah.
That's it. That'll do.
Right. So next we've got the suspension. And a tiny amount of oil on those acting faces.
Yeah,
And here we've got the pendulum.
yeah.
Actually, I should have put the suspension on the other way. Just try and hold it on that way. Okay.
It can be put on anywhere around.
Yeah.
See, if you've got a laser welder, micro welding guy that can do the grinding as well, because if you've got tiny patches and you're building this up, at the end of the day, you've then got to run it back to the right form shape. Well, this is obviously a problem, because we're effectively having to re-machine it. There's a colour index in the right number of teeth. Well, yes.
Okay, ready for the big
Well, yes, it should
Start.
go.
Yes, you could change the depth to allow for the wear. Only the bit. So you can't, it's fairly well down at the roof of the top.
They work. On the strike.
I'd have to think.
So Matt Burley's asked, he said it looks a bit precarious sitting on there. So it's a clock horse and it is precarious in some way, as long as you, well, you just don't walk into it. And of course you've got, these clock horses are always very adjustable because they have to accommodate kind of every different size and shape of clock. So yeah, but one has to be careful because things can be knocked off. I haven't installed the bell stand, but that's on the other side. It's stopped, but I think it could be a question of beat as well.
No, it's working perfectly.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Is there a in the end
I'll
part?
just change the.
There's two washers there and there's a washer there, so I'm not sure if it's any of those.
I mean, I think we're reaching the end of the stream part of this program, don't you think? Put the bell on and shall we let it strike?
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it does go on. No, it doesn't.
It's on
They've got the two.
this inside there.
I can't get it past the thing. I'll have to give it.
Goes in its angle.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that go on?
It does. Right, so if I just pull that back gently,
Yes, the pin would go in. Now, the trouble is, you might have to assemble this.
no, you've got to get the pin in first.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. that's it.
Well, rising focus, line up, sort of in. Like that.
You're absolutely right. I'm using my right hand.
It is a tricky one. No, I think, no.
Oh, I didn't have the washer in there, that's why. Yeah, that's the right, so you have to do that one then. Okay, so it's that one goes on and then perhaps do one. Oh, I don't know.
Stop now for some reason.
I think because I've been shaking it.
Yeah.
Right, everybody, could we give 15 seconds dead silence?
Still stopped. Jam somewhere.
Right, carry on. Well, I think it could be the weight is leaning against there, although that shouldn't matter.
That's
You've got,
not what's causing the problem. There's no power coming through the
oh
train.
no, wait a minute. Am I? Oh no. Okay, I know what's happened.
Is this on the screen?
Still, the train is jammed
No
somewhere.
idea.
It's just,
Yeah, something was jamming the train at that moment. Maybe something temporary, just getting in position.
Okay, let's put it
Gonna
on
find now.
the horse.
Yeah. That would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
Clamp the horse to the bench.
Yeah.
Well, there we are, everybody.
Well, except you want to wind the escape wheel now.
Yeah, but I think in terms of the string,
Well, then nice see, tiny drop on, just hold it with teeth
Okay,
fast.
all right.
Persistent.
Yep. Jim's convinced me to do a final bit of oiling on screen. Let's just see what it says. Oh yeah, Dancers with Aardvark said, I like the aesthetic of it without the bell, but with the bell not so much. Yeah, I hear you. Great job with maintenance, thank you. Bear in mind, it wouldn't really have been visible to the outside world, you know, it's inside a case, inside a wooden case.
And it's
Right, so I'm going to oil the escapement. I've just put a few drops of oil, maybe 3, 4 teeth around, and let the oil let the teeth do the job of distributing it.
Just have tip the oil a bit oily, and then let the tooth hit it and let it go on to count a few through and let hit another one. That's what I would do.
that's got it tight.
That's it.
You know, they do this with watch escape wheels as well.
Exactly, it's the same technique. It worked well for either.
But just let it run past the oiler.
You need care of everything.
Yes. Yeah, if you hold it just right, you don't actually stop it, but it just picks up a touch of oil on each tooth you go near. And 3 is usually enough.
Shall we use that? Yeah. Or is it too weak? said not there. We could do it that way, it'd be perfectly much stiffer that way.
It's particularly on a dead beat, if you put too much on it, ends up at the root.
And this is pretty much like a dead beat.
Yeah,
it's the same sort of wheel, yeah.
shape of the wheel.
That's not going to be very good, is it?
Are you still streaming?
Yes. I think we're getting towards the end. Okay, so I can see oil coming out. Oh, it just dripped in.
There you go, that's it then.
Okay.
Robin Batchelor has got a very dangerous situation brewing, because he said, very absorbing video and most informative. Thank you. I shall now start acquiring horological tools. Robin. You're on a very slippery slope.
I'm afraid so.
Dear fellow.
It'll go on for a long time.
Yeah, it's deceptive. I mean, we've literally just used kind of 5 or 6 tools here, but you can end up with 1,000 or thousands of horological tools, and it's a bit it's an obsession of its own, above and beyond clocks.
Just as interesting as the clocks.
Yes, yeah, horological tools, very interesting. So that's it. Is there anything else to say, really? I think we're reaching the end of our stream. I'm going to pause a bit because there's about a 20-second lag between what I'm saying and what's coming up on the video. So if anyone wants to sign out or whatever, I think we'll end the stream very soon. And thanks everyone for joining us. We had a fantastic outcome. I mean, we've only the kind of second real stream we've done. We've had 30 viewers maximum at one time. We had 235 views overall. Amazing result. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for staying, adding your comments. We'll edit this video and put it on to YouTube on the BHI's channel. I may cut it up into 2 or 3 smaller pieces. You know, the chat, the dismantling, the reassembling, because a 2 or 3 hour video is not fun to watch just like that. So let's see what people are saying. Yes, I hear you about the tools. Yeah, nice to meet you as well, Matt and Frank and Tarkus Head and Bill. So thanks everyone, and thank everyone around the workshop. Jan just over my left shoulder, Stella over my right shoulder, Nick Brown hiding behind the clock there, Jim Arnfield over here in the ether. That's it. So thanks everyone, and yeah, see you around in about a month. And if you can come to the BHI's exhibition, or the museum's exhibition, it's going to be really fun. George Daniels watch, Derek Pratt watch, and many others. Charles Frodsham. We'll see some excellent work there. So thanks for joining us, and goodbye.